every little moment Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Tonight we are in for a special treat. I'm going to have to ask you to step on in and take a trip into the time machine as Boise State and I are going to go for the HUE Fest Rewind. If you want to go back to this weekend with me, we had HUE Fest, a great tournament for Boise State in the League of Legends side that we caught all the action on, but at the same time, the Overwatch team was going at it, and it's time to give them their just due. So we're going to have the HUE Fest Invitational Rewind for Boise State Overwatch tonight, see how the Broncos did in the other tournament going on. I am Michael Fisher, and to help me with this rewind is going to be Maddie Nerdy Bird Benj, joining us for the first time on the stream this semester. Nerdy Bird, how are you doing tonight?
There we go. Now you should be able to hear me. Okay, so I'm really excited to finally be here and be able to actually help with one of these broadcasts and, so to speak, pseudo-watch the boys play for the first time. I actually have been helping with the practices this semester and through the recruitment process, and actually haven't met them in person, so the majority of the new players don't know who I am. So I will be kind of like a voice of echoing all the things that I've already said to them throughout the course of this broadcast for the first time. They'll actually be able to see my face while I do it, so it'll be a little interesting.
Yeah, so the coach is going to comment now on what they did right and what they did wrong. And I'm excited. I know for the League of Legends, we had that broadcast. It was a lot of fun. Boise State made it to the round of 16. So I'm really excited to see how the esports or the Overwatch team did. If you were unfamiliar, it's a 4-team group stage. Top 3 teams advance to the round of 16. Same rules as in League of Legends. So I don't say a lot of pressure on Boise State. You really only needed 1 win. But if the Broncos get 2 or 3, that's going to go a long way. So I'm excited to see how the Broncos did.
Well, I can definitely tell you will not be disappointed with how well they performed during their games. I actually did have the opportunity to watch some of them, so before we spend too much time spoiling what happened, let's actually get right into the action and take a look at their first match.
As we kick things off, it is going to be Boise State taking on Messiah University. Then they'll follow it up with Texas and Miami of Ohio, an opponents that they haven't seen, at least on this field. I know Boise State and the Longhorns met on League of Legends earlier this season, but we'll get to those. As you mentioned, we're going to kick it off. Boise State in the HUE Fest Rewind taking on Messiah, the Falcons versus the Broncos. And I'm going to be excited, Dirty Bird. I know you mentioned you may have seen some of these, but to kind of break it down, I know we've seen the Overwatch team play in the NECC. Is the meta sort of similar with the Monkey Diva, or did things a little bit different here in this tournament from what you saw?
So I'm not going to lie to you, Boise State definitely is a huge fan of that Monkey Diva comp because, let's face it, they like to be aggressive and loud and in your face. Ever since GOATS was a thing, they've kept that momentum going for about 5 seasons now since that meta pretty much died, but we play off-brand half-price GOATs, and that is the go-to for the majority of the BSU comps that we will be running. But, of course, we do have our ace, the whole Goblin, who might be throwing a few wrenches in our meta, so to speak, for the enemy team.
Yeah, Goblins definitely made some spectacular plays, taking what really feels like a hit scan Torbjorn's at time. You'll see him sort of off in the corner, usually where you don't expect a Torbjorn to be. As we kick things off here on control, HUE Fest Invitational Rewind for Boise State taking on Messiah. Boise State off to a great start here. X22 dropping very low, so is Deathblade. Boise State's health bars not falling very low as Plato's going to pick up the first 2. Guac's going to add 3, 4, and 5. And Boise State, what a start to the Broncos year.
You can see that when they first engaged, Boise State didn't even bother going into server room. They're like, you know what? We know everyone loves running into white, and we have our Junkrat, so let's funnel them into that room. Let's take control of point before they can even bother getting there. And you saw how much damage they were able to just funnel in, and that's how they took that point so fast. Now we've got Goblin doing what he does best, being a hit stand Torbjorn on the back lines of our team.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge for Messiah if they can even get around Boise State's front line. You can see Guac there with the shield. Here we go. They're going to meet back in the control once again. Same story for the Falcons. Health bars dropping very, very low. Chronicity dropping low. Riptire, though, is going to get the first one. Junkrat on Junkrat there, and Boise State immediately pushes the advantage once again. A near team kill as Deathblade just survives, and Boise State comfortably winning a second fight.
Yep, we got Boise State sitting here, and they're coming up on a lot of ultimates. As you can see, we've got Goblin coming in with that Torb ult, and of course Guac sitting on what may be a massive shatter. Of course, Ace already has his Coalescence ready, but as we know with this current meta, Coalescence isn't like the end-all be-all play anymore, so he's kind of making it important. Hitting that before the full fight's even engaged could be a mistake, but that gives Goblin this opportunity to jump into the back sideline of the enemy team and just start taking them out while we have this Coalescence just going into the enemy team.
And you can see there we had talked about how Goblin was sort of playing that hit scan. Torbjorn X22 actually went on the back line, separated from the rest of his team. And he got a turret for it, but really the Goblin running this sort of distraction that he's done on Torbjorn, it worked out really well. When you get a Reaper away from the rest of the team, you consider that one a victory.
I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is when Reaper can't get away, you've got to just turn around and pick him off, and Goblin's the man to just, you know, point him out and say, I'm going to get you, and that's what he does. Already coming in with that big Torbjorn ult along with the Kel drop and that Graviton Surge for a quadruple kill coming from Boise State University. That is just insane. Not to mention they also have their support ult almost. We have Sound Barrier coming in, and Asa will definitely have another Coalescence ready just in case. We have the other team coming in to make a final push, but it looks like they will not make it.
Boise State winning 3 fights extremely cleanly. You can see the ult sort of being blown there at the end, but Boise State with a very dominating victory there, 100-0 for the Broncos. And you have to say for Boise State, you gotta love how that turned out. They won the first fight and just really never let off the pressure. I'm not sure if Messiah got more than one elimination that entire round. I could be wrong, but it definitely felt like Boise State was in control the whole time.
Yeah, definitely they had control of the map from the very beginning. Like I said, they chose not to go server room knowing that they had a full force frontal damage coming out from their Torb and Junkrat, and they knew that it was pointless to try to funnel the enemy team into that room if they would just do it themselves. So this time, Boise State's got to have to take a slightly different approach. As you can see, we have abandoned our Reinhardt while the enemy team is still going to be sticking with the Rein, and that's going to give us a huge advantage because we'll be able to put a lot of forward pressure very quickly on their team, and there's a whole lot of open space initiating around this point, and so as long as Boise State can get control prior to the start of the true fight on point, they can get full control over this point without the enemy team touching it.
See a pair of pharmacies on both sides, so some damage going to come in. Hexium going to be the first one taken down by Goblin, but he landed for a split second. X22 going to make him pay for that one. Kel's going to be able to take out Deathblade, though. Con Artistry is going to fall as well. Boise State now sitting up too, as you can see Superhuman trying to get back into the fight. Boise State sustains one of their few casualties, but still going to come out with a clean win and the point.
Yeah, you can see that we had Real Joe and X22 kind of over here trying to pick off some of the Boise State team from the other side. However, that split off took away a lot of their sustainability when it came to playing against the rest of the full force of BSU, and their resources aren't being fully committed into one place, splitting them a little bit too much for this Dime comp from Boise State, because Dive is ready to split you, and if you're already split, you've taken care of half the battle for them.
Goblin low on fuel on the ground, has got to be careful. You can see X22 trying to land some shots on him. Goblin going to try and answer back, actually gets 1 point blank, and Plato's going to be the first one to go down. Con Artistry is going to fall. Boise State, though, now going to take out Hexium, so the tank line's down, and now Goblin sees his chance. He's going to pick up a double kill. He's very low, but he's going to be able to get back up in the air, trying to take down X22. Nearly punches him out of the air, but he's going to get an assist from Kel and Guac, and Boise State, once again, wins a fight, and the ultimate's starting to come online for the Broncos.
And you can see that Boise State isn't even bothering to pop an ultimate yet. They're aware that they have everything coming online, but that in their heads, they know that the other team has all of their ults coming too, and he who ults first is more likely to win. So in this next fight, it's really going to be on Boise State to hit that Q button in the right place at the right time. And you can see that we already have a Valkyrie coming out, so Boise State can take this opportunity to be aggressive, and Goblin pops out his ultimate, taking out the Diva out of mech and taking out the Sombra shortly there afterwards. So up 2, Boise State has a great opportunity to maintain this point.
Yeah, Boise State using all their ultimates, as you mentioned, Dirty Bird. He who ults first usually wins. The Primal Rage being used as well. You can see from Messiah, they do have a pair of up their own, the Rocket Barrage Valkyrie and the Shatter available for Con Artistry. So this is going to be their last chance. You can see once again grouping up in a similar position, almost the definition of insanity, as the Falcons now going to rush on to the point. Boise State got to be aware of where that Rocket Barrage is coming from now. 98%, we're into overtime. Messiah's got to win this, or Boise State is is going to take map 1. X22 the first one to go down. He's not going to get an ult off. Deathblade is going to follow. Superhuman finally gets a kill on the Guac. Mikhail's going to punch down Real Joe, and Boise State sitting up 4 now. They are going to lose D.Va out of the mech, but it's probably not going to matter. So there you see the grab comes down from Hexium, but nothing that Messiah could do it. Boise State's going to pick up their second 100-0 win, and they're going to take game 1 here against Messiah.
Real smart play coming from Boise State on that last engage, though they knew that it was the last fight. They were prepared for Messiah to come in with that EMP blast. You can see Boise State was actually playing a little bit more spread out so that if one of them got EMP'd, one of the supports would be ready to back them back up. They also were aware that there's going to be that Graviton surge, so more of a reason for them to stay spread out, and they did a fantastic job keeping track of those ults in their head and making sure they weren't playing directly into Messiah's traps.
Yeah, and they also saw that X22 was trying to get on the back line with the rocket barrage, because we saw it's a very powerful ult, but you also saw Goblin sort of use the wall there to block it, because the Pharah does have to stand still. She's very, very vulnerable when she does it. Boise State got the pick before the rocket barrage even came out, so as you mentioned, Nerdy Bird, Boise State said, hey, we're going to ult first, and then Messiah really never had a chance to answer, so a really dominating win for Boise State. Didn't even lose a single % on the point in either game, and that goes a long way heading into game 2 for Messiah, because you know the Falcons probably got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, of course, but you know, honestly, it's just about taking that that deep breath and, you know, just taking a second and saying, okay, you know, we're back to 0-0. So hopefully Messiah did that, took this opportunity that they had to speak with their teammates, speak with their players, and just kind of recenter themselves for this next fight. You know, it's always 0-0 is how you got to look at it. Boise State, of course, came in very aggressive, but that does give Messiah the opportunity to play off more of BSU's mistakes because they do not play perfectly. So let's see if we're able to learn from their first round with how BSU plays and take advantage of that in this next map.
Yeah, so it sounds like you can hear us loading into our next map here. Boise State trying to win their first game in the HUE Fest Invitational against Messiah. The Broncos off to a great start, taking control. Very, very dominating against Messiah. See if they can get their next win here. Is the HUE Fest Rewind. Let everybody know how the Boise State Overwatch team did it in HUE Fest over the weekend. And right now they're off to a great start over Messiah. But I'll be curious to see how the Broncos handle this next map. As Nerdy Bird mentions, you've got to sort of reset if you're Messiah. It's 0-0. Move on to the next map as we are on to Escort. And for Boise State, I'll be curious to see how this first couple fights go out, because right now the Broncos undefeated in team fights by my count, and Messiah probably want to change that very quickly.
We are undefeated, but the one thing I will point out is that Havana has to be one of the lowest practiced escort maps that Boise State has. They put a lot of time in on Dorado, not thinking about Havana being chosen as frequently as it has been. But before we even get the camera fully centered in on our team, we can just see all of the red names coming out in the kill feed as Boise State is obviously taking control in the very beginning.
Yeah, Boise State not even letting the camera person get over there, just immediately getting a 5-man wipe. They're going to force X22 right off of the Widowmaker, so no hit scan for him, as now we see if Messiah's second attempt can go better than the first. Plato going to get the first elimination. X22 picks up one onto a turret. Unfortunately, the rest of his team can't get much of anything. An immediate 3-man win for Boise State, and that's probably back to spawn for the Falcons.
Even not having fully been given a whole lot of time to practice and scrim on this map, Boise State came in, they thought about what type of comp they wanted, and they're sticking with the double bubble trouble coming out here with Guac on the monkey as always, and he is just jumping right in and destroying Messiah's tanks. I don't know what they're going to do to try to counter this. They're just not moving fast enough, and I don't think they have someone on their team comfortable on Lucio to be able to change things up and get the speed they need to take control over the payload.
Does look like Boise State now is going to at least give Messiah a little bit of room to breathe, allow them to get fully out of the point before trying to put some damage. And there goes the turret for Goblin, but he already has the Molten Core online, and he's immediately going to use it. Con Archery, the first one to fall. Deathblade and Hexium going to go down to the Molten Core. Make Real Joe the third target of Goblin's Vengeance. He is on fire. Guac's to pick up X22 at Boise State, even giving Messiah a little bit of room to breathe. Going to have another fight win, but there's still 2 minutes left. Ton of time left for Messiah to find their first victory.
There is plenty of time for Messiah to come back from this, but you can see Boise State, other than Goblin's ult, has basically every ult coming online. Yes, we did just lose Plato, but we're going to use a Graviton Surge, and the hammer is going to come out to take out a few people. Goblin is flexing a little bit too hard, and Guac, of course, is hung onto his ultimate so that we didn't lose both of our tank ults. But as Shipley will say to Guac multiple times, he is a little bit too shy to hit that Q button. So let's hope that he doesn't forget to hit it before we lose the opportunity to stay in control over this payload.
Let off some steam.
You see Messiah, though, they do have the Nano up as well as the Rocket Barrage, a very deadly combo if they can pull that one off, and then the Shatter Very close for Con Artistry to being online. Coalescence Racer, though, going to start off the fight. X22 is immediately going to go down. Shatter is going to land just onto the Moira, so Boise State's going to use the Death Blossom, pick up a pair more, and once again the Broncos really dominating here, not letting the Falcons out of their spawn with just over a minute left on the clock.
You can see Kel's comfort right here on this Zarya pick. He is a Zarya warlord, so to speak, always high charge, always on fire, and you see him using his own abilities to hop up onto the high ground, something you don't see in lower level play. Honestly, just further demonstrating how much skill and comfort he really has on this Zarya pick, and he's going to tell this Pharah Mercy combo, you do not mess with me, I don't care if I'm not Diva, I will take you down.
Is going to land. He'll get antied as well, so that is going to be the first breathing room that Messiah has gotten all game. A great job by X22 sort of sneaking up on Boise State, got a couple of eliminations, so now the Broncos have to surrender the payload, but with just 39 seconds left, the Falcons probably in one fight territory here if they want to pick up the win, but they have 3 ultimates online, so we're curious to see if they're able to get it off. And Molten Core is going to start the fight for Goblin, not going to get anything more than hit markers right now. Hexium's going to be the first one to go down. Nano is going to land on the Con Artistry. Nice sound barrier there by a large bagel to allow Boise State to sustain as they keep pushing through. The Death Blossom came out, and unfortunately for Messiah, they only picked up 1 kill. Boise State doing a great job surviving all of those ultimates as the Real Joe is the last one to go down. The Falcons trying to rush back to the point as Boise State will probably try and bloody block, but I don't know if anyone's going to get there fast enough. Boise State with an excellent defensive hold.
And as you mentioned, they were looking at maybe 1-2 fight territory before Messiah was able to hit that first point, but Boise State had a huge advantage coming out with that Lucio, the amount of speed that they are able to get out of spawn, plus the double dive that they are running for their standard comp. It gave them that opportunity to fully retake that payload and prevent them from even going into what would have been about a 4th fight for Boise State on this point.
See a little bit about Messiah College. The opponent for Boise State recently launched an exciting new esports program in response to student interest in an evolving national varsity landscape. This donor-funded 5-year pilot initiative includes varsity teams of students who will compete against other college and amateur teams across the nation. So it's always nice to see another school added onto the list of programs that are starting to accept esports as a potential future varsity program. So you love to see that, even though Boise State maybe letting Messiah know that they've got a little kinks to work out. It's always great to see newer schools like this get into big tournaments like HUE Fest. Even if they just show up, that is definitely one thing that they can tick off that say, hey, we're getting to the places like programs like Boise State and other high-tier programs. So a big shout-out to Messiah to get that done and get into a very big-time tournament.
Exactly. It's not a bad thing to be a regular fish in a very large pond. It's about, getting out there and swimming around and becoming comfortable with the waters, and that is exactly what Messiah University is currently doing, and I'm excited to see where their program's going to go in the future.
Boise State, I'm sure the Broncos excited to potentially pick up a 1-fight victory here. You can see the parking space they have to get to, and we'll see if Messiah can do a good job sort of spawn camping the Broncos, just like the Broncos did to them. Unfortunately, Real Joe's going to be the first one to go down, which means that Pharah is not going to have a pocket healer. Superhuman drop it very low. He is just barely going to survive as Goblin will go down on the Bastion. Boise State, though, dropping the health bars extremely low. Now the Reaper and Con Artistry are going to fall. X22 just barely staying alive. He will get an elimination, but the Broncos gonna pick up basically a team kills. Real Joe respawns, and we'll see if the payload can get to the parking space fast enough.
So with the current meta, a lot of people don't realize this, but Diva is actually considered to be a little bit more powerful than Zarya in the higher level play because you can counter that Graviton Surge. You also are a huge counter to the Reaper play that Messiah College is pulling out right here. And as you can see, Kel dominates and eats the enemy team even while on Diva and Zarya, showing up that he is the true BSU flex support tank.
Yeah, Boise State with a very quick victory there, so now up 2-0 on Messiah. We'll see if the Broncos can finish them off heading into the next game. This is the HUE Fest Invitational Rewind for Overwatch. We, of course, got a chance to watch the League of Legends action live over the weekend. Overwatch is going on the same time. Can't broadcast both, so we are going to let everybody watch on how the Overwatch team did. So it is the same format. Group play is 4 teams, top 3 advance, Messiah, Texas, and Miami of Ohio. The teams joining Boise State in the group, and then once we get to the round of 16, it is single elimination if Boise State gets there, which they're off to a great start right now. Basically 1 map away from finishing off Messiah.
Yeah, they are 1 map away, but as I do always tell the team, never underestimate your opponents, because Overwatch at the end of the day is a game of mistakes, and as soon as you start lagging and start slipping up, the enemy team will take advantage of that, and so Messiah still has an opportunity to come back. Let's not forget, there is 1 more map, and it could go, I don't think it can go on to another, can it? No. Yes, it could.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
That's a 5. So if
It's a 5.
Messiah
Okay,
has
yes.
the reverse sweep potential still there. Boise State trying to win it off with a clean 3-0 sheet to start off the HUE Fest Invitational. So and then they will play Texas and Miami of Ohio. Regardless of the result, they play everyone in the group stage, win or lose. So I'll be curious to see how Boise State wants to handle it. If there is sort of this, hey, let's win it quickly, or not to say Boise State would throw, but hey, there's other teams that we want to test out another comp, see if that might be able to catch a Texas or Miami of Ohio or a round of 16 opponent off guard. So I'll be curious to see how Boise State wants to approach what could be the final map of their first game.
Either way, I'm really excited to watch it go down. After all, both teams have a very unique play style. As you can see, the Messiah College was really trying to stick to that Zarya-Reinhardt combination that they had going for them. So if they can really find a map where that benefits, the plays to their benefits more than it has been, they have the opportunity to begin a reverse sweep and pick up the momentum for themselves. And let's see if they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see, of course, with the grab, you have the Rocket Barrage that you can combo with. You have the Death Blossom you can combo with to maybe catch Boise State off guard. So I will be, like I said, it's there for Messiah. Boise State has just done a really good job of sort of shutting down those ultimates forever coming online. And then, of course, when you only have to push the payload like 40 meters, it is kind of hard. You lose one fight, you respawn so far back as the defenders that it's really hard to get back onto the point. But we are waiting to get into the third map between Boise State and Messiah for the first round of the HUE Fest Invitational. For Boise State, they're currently leading 2-0 right now with 2 really, really good wins. Double 100-0 wins on Control, and then a first point payload stop. Didn't even get halfway to the first checkpoint. And we can see Boise State, you can hear the music of the Broncos loading into what could potentially be the last map. The HUE Fest Rewind, Boise State, Messiah, Broncos taking on the Falcons. Falcons actually just renamed their mascot from Fandango, which I thought was a great name, to Flex the Falcons. So I'm sure there's a very muscular Falcon, so we'll see if the muscles can come out from Messiah on our next map here that you can definitely snowball on with Control.
Yes, Full Sky Industries is notorious for being a snowball map. For some reason, it's either there's no time left on the clock or there is over 5 minutes left on the clock for both teams. So this will be very interesting to see how this goes. Whether it'll be a full hold or double snowball from both sides will be up to the teams.
Defend objective A.
Start to load in. We'll see if Boise State, last time before the camera was able even to center in on both teams, Boise State picked up 5 eliminations. We'll see if the Broncos can do that this time. Doesn't look like they're going to get that, as they are a little bit more passive this time on defense. Plato up there on the ash, putting in some damage right now. Just hit markers. There he goes. Headshot onto X22. Boise State's going to pick up the first one. Nearly picks off Real Joe. He is going to get the res off, but he is going to pay for it with his life. Plato doing an excellent job. He'll make X22 go back to the grave once again. 3 eliminations already, and now Boise State going to join him on the kill feed. A large bagel, and Kel going to get a couple more. Plato finishes it off, and Messiah going to have to reset.
I'd like to point out how Boise State is doing this beautiful carousel work that they have going on with their team's rotations. As Plato gets the attention of the majority of the DPS players, it gives the opportunity for our tank to then dive in and take care of the back line, as the enemy tanks from Messiah are trying to push up, so maybe they need to open their comms a little bit from the DPS and support side and say, hey, tanks, don't go too far forward. We're getting melted.
Messiah is going to be able to take out Goblin's turret, but I'm sure I'll have time to relay. X22 going to win this battle between the Ashes. Revive this time going to come out from Asu, as Goblin's not going to pick the first one onto Conarchy. He'll add a second one to his tally on the Deathblade. Hexium going to go down, as well as Super H-Man to Plato. He'll pick up a third on X22, and let's make it a team kill. Kel gets Real Joe and Boise State off to a dominating start. Asu did use the Valkyrie there, so that is one of the only ultimate for the Broncos going to be down going into this next fight.
Yeah, it's okay to use that Valkyrie, though, and not have any of your other teammates use it, because when you look at it, it's kind of similar to that of a Bongo. It gives the team the opportunity to charge up the rest of their ultimate, and Mercy does charge her ult relatively fast, so it's okay. You can see Boise State is going to have not only both their DPS ult, but their tank ult as well coming online in this next fight, and there's Zenyatta is chilling out on a Transcendent if they need to counter a grab, whereas Messiah College only has a DPS and a tank ult ready to go, and their Moira's already popping ult while BSU is just too spread out to really get any advantage from pulling a Coalescence right at the choke point.
Yeah, X22 did get eliminated by Plato, but he's going to hold on to his Bob. Plato going to use that Bob to join the fight. It looks like Messiah is going to smartly disengage, but Plato's going to get another great shot onto X22. He's taking a little bit of damage from the Junkrat grenades, but I'm going to guess that Messiah's just going to wait for the Ash to respawn, especially with the ult online, and there is the rest.
And you can see that res is being forced to be used very quickly from the side of Messiah, and Boise State either lets it happen or completely well, they'll let it happen, but they'll make the Mercy regret it almost instantly, and they're using a very viable ability too early in a fight to make having that Mercy on Messiah's side truly worth it. And you can already see Goblin's just going to go in and destroy the team, so using that res in the beginning of that fight almost was pointless. They could have just reset and waited for another opportunity to do a full engage while we had previously popping ults. Instead, they exhausted everything they had.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that they didn't just wait for X22 to respawn. You can see Boise State cleaning up that fight. They did get the Bob out, who picked up an elimination, and did take Kel out of the mech, so it is Baby D.Va running around there, but we'll see if he's able to get the charge back. You can see he's almost at 50%. Grab is up, as well as the Riptire and the Shatter for the side of the Falcons, so if they can get a nice little combo here onto Boise State, they might be able to win this first fight. D.Va Bomb doesn't look like it's going to be used quite left. Kel's going to get back in the mech. Valkyrie going to be pulled. Plato has a second bomb already. Just fantastic damage. Primal Rage going to be used. Right now, the Falcons holding on to everything. Superhuman not able to get even the ultimate off. Artistry and Hexium both going to go down with their check marks available as well. And in what probably was last fight territory for Messiah, you kind of got to wonder what they were holding on for, because right now Boise State doing an excellent job. Damage still is coming out as Real Joe's going to go down. X22 will fall. Boise State should be able to have a perfect hold here.
It looks like to me that Messiah University is not super comfortable with the current meta as it stands. That's very gun-ho and in-your-face aggressive that's coming out from Boise State side. As you can see, yes, we will modify our tank slightly, but that momentum and pressure that Boise State creates does not go down, and it feels like Messiah is not ready to counter that, as you've not seen a single Lucio come out or a D.Va come out, two quintessential characters when it comes to playing this dive comp, and it'd be really great to see if they can pull one out during this next fight.
I was just really shocked. I mean, they got around the corner with all three of their ultimates available, and I was like, okay, here's the grab into the Shatter. Maybe we throw out a Riptire, and they just kept holding on. Superman eventually going down, and then that just sort of fell apart from there. So we'll be curious to see as Boise State looks like Plato once again going to be on the ass. They just need to get barely a foot onto the point there in order to be able to cap this and have a 3-0 victory over Messiah. It does look like not a tank line switch dirty, but it does look like, at least for now, the Mei is being, I guess you could say, hovered by Messiah. There's still time to switch, but that would be the only major change that the Falcons have done all series.
I don't know if the Falcons have noticed, but Plato, as you even brought up, had two back-to-back Bobs in two fights because his dynamites are just getting so much value, and the best way to counter those dynamites would to be having a D.Va defense matrix or a Sigma tornado suck on that, and I do not see a D.Va coming out from the side of Messiah, and I feel like they might be playing into their own demise in this case without that D.Va.
They're just going to bring out the Mei. Boise State going to have the Tracer Reaper now, this time as their DPS with the Broncos. Going to just need one tick onto the point as they're going to try and hop right in. Kel going to get right on top of X22. They don't allow him to do what Plato was able to do on the Falcons side. Super H-Man going to be the first one to go down. Boise State now sitting up one. Broncos probably just need to win this first fight as Hexium drops very low. Real Joe is low as well. A large bagel can take a bit of damage right now. Boise State's health bar comfortably in the lead. X22 going to be the next one to go down. Superman has respawned. We'll see if he can get back, but Real Joe and Deathblade unfortunately going to go down. Kel nearly going down, has to boost back onto that. Boise State going to pick up the rest of them, and they're going to get that one tick off to the point. The Broncos with a very quick win here, and they're going to get a 3-0 victory over Messiah to kick things off in the HUE Fest Rewind.
And that was a great game played out from both sides, from Messiah and Boise State University. I'm excited to see what Messiah is able to do in the future. I totally understand that being a brand new program, they don't have as much of a backing as Boise State does, but hopefully they know that we're always happy to help them out and extend a helping hand and scrim with them. I'd be really excited to see where this new program is able to go. After all, BSU started there once as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's always great to see more and more universities get into the esports field. I think Solpan even had the tweet out. He said, on this day 3 years ago is when Boise State said we're fully moving to a varsity program, and he had to make a speech in front of a bunch of people. So it's not like Boise State has been around for that long. Esports is still in the varsity collegiate level, a still budding entity. So it's always great to have more and more schools joining, getting into these tournaments like HUE Fest. So big shout out to Messiah, and their day's not done. They'll go on to play Texas and Miami of Ohio as well, as this is a group play. But for right now, we'll focus on the Broncos, and they're going to move on to play Texas, a school that I know they met in League of Legends, and the Longhorns beating the Broncos in that. I know it's two different squads, but I'm sure the Overwatch squad probably got something from the league team. You can see there. Get a little bit of revenge for us. Get some wins over the Longhorns. As you can see, the broadcast schedule, like I said, a rewind back to this weekend. HUE Fest went on for League and Overwatch at the same time. Only have the capacity to call one of them, so we did League live. We're going to take a look back now at Overwatch for Boise State. Fish and Nerdy Bird on the cast, and Boise State right now sitting at 1-0 with a very, very dominant win to kick things off.
I'm still so excited that Hoop Fest is being hosted by us. Honestly, I'm excited to see this next match, and I will not lie, I've been in charge of some of the scouting for this tournament, and I discovered that Texas has a Reddit thread. And that is where their team club members were communicating originally, at least from what I could observe. So keep that in mind to any of the people from Texas University. I did find your guys' subreddit. You might want to think about removing that because it does give me a little bit more of an advantage when I'm scouting you guys out. I thought it was really awesome that they had a subreddit, and I was really hoping I could find one belonging to BSU, but we don't have one yet. So we'll get on that. You
just gotta make it private so that nobody, no one that they don't want, like a Nerdy Bird, for example, scouting out, is gonna be able to see what you want to run. But we'll see how that scouting paid off for Boise State as we kick off map 1. Boise State running with basically the same comp. Texas coming out here. Can't decide between the Symmetra and the Doomfist. Finally going to air on the Doomfist there, so we're curious to see how he's able to get on the Boise State backline. Right now, Junkrat dropping very, very low for the Longhorns, able to get held back up to full life. Be curious to see when Goblin wants to go on his sort of hit scan vengeance. His turret is going to be taken down by this and that. Right now, Boise State slowly winning the fight. You can see they're pushing the Longhorns off the point, but no eliminations quite to show for it on either side. Amber going to drop a little bit low. Hung now going to be the first one eliminated. Goblin going to get his first elimination of the round. Now you can see he wants to get right in the face of the Junkrat. Kohari is going to go down off screen, and Plato's going to pick up one. This and that will fall. Boise State now sitting up 4. Should be able to easily cap this first point.
Boise State did a great job setting up on the point. As you can see, they knew the comp that they had just like the last time that they started out on Control Center for Li Zhang, and they said to themselves, we're going to go straight to point, set up, and make sure that the fight occurs outside on the enemy's side of the point so that they can maintain full control and the full momentum of this fight. It is a little bit slower than the last game because both teams are running clear identical comps. And as you can see that we've got Plato coming out with that Riptire, however, it's not going to get anybody, but it is going to force both teams to extinguish some of their abilities as we see a Earth Chowder being away to the side of Texas. The fourth door is going to come out, and maybe we can stabilize a little bit, but it looks like Boise State might be losing this fight.
Hey, it's all like Graviton search come out from Kel, and Goblin's Molten Core was just unfortunately a tad late, so they weren't able to combine those together. So the Longhorns going to pick up a nice fight win and take over on the point. We'll see if Boise State can now respond. You do have the Riptire and the Sound Barrier up for the Longhorn, Shatter and the Sound Barrier up for Boise State as the Broncos going to get right in. Plato going to go down. This and that pick up the first elimination. We'll see if Boise State able to find one here to even things out. Riptire is going to come out, but Boise State able to take care of it before it gets any elimination. Broncos kind of stalling around, waiting for a respawn from Plato. There's the Earth Shatter going to land onto 2, but Graviton and Sound Barrier going to come out from the Longhorns. A large Bagel tries to use his own Sound Barrier, but it's not enough as the Dragon Strike comes through as well. And Boise State unfortunately going to be forced back here as Texas doing a great job holding on to the point.
So the one thing that Boise State did not take into consideration was after that first fight, Texas actually swapped over this Hanzo, which allowed for a lot of piercing damage coming out from the side of Texas, so they were able to overtake our frontline tanks a lot faster than that Doomfist was because he wasn't trying to fight with Goblin turret for this entire fight. And then we have this Riptire coming in and engaging quickly, so Boise State of course hit their Qs first, which is allowing them to set the speed and the pace for this fight. And you can see they're pushing up with that Mora Coalescence to get full advantage over keeping their team alive and gaining control of this point. This next fight, you can see Texas is coming in with another Riptire as well as a Nano Boost. The Boise State is sitting on their Torgal and their Zarya ult. All 4 of these ultimates are relatively equal. However, if that Junkire goes off too quickly and gets one of Boise State players down, we're going to have a huge issue. So Boise State needs to get that first pick quickly, or they need to take out the tire and engage fast.
Boise State gonna take down Amber. There is the Riptire. Nano gonna come out. It's gonna go on to Bastion. That was a swap over from the Hanzo. Walken's going to fall to the tire. Boise State, you can see Goblin sitting at 8 HP. He's gotta be very, very careful as his turret's gonna be taken down. He will be healed back up to full life. Plato gonna get a kill, and now the Graviton's gonna come out for Boise State. They're gonna pick up a pair from the Graviton. We'll see if they can get the Longhorns as they're retreating, but Boise State has to feel very comfortable going into this, what could be penultimate fight here, as there's gonna be very few ultimates on either side. Probably a Coalescence and a Sound Barrier, one for Boise State, one for Texas going into what could be the last fight.
Going into this last fight, you can see that Boise State has one of their DPS ults and both of their support ults up and ready to go, which gives them a huge advantage over the Texas coming in with what looks like kind of just throwing everything they have at the point and not maintaining, but Boise State with their ults had sustained, and they knew that no matter what, they were able to maintain this point.
Boise State gonna secure that one, though it was a little bit closer than their first match against Messiah. Texas taking the first fight win of the tournament against the Broncos, actually picking up a pair, but Boise State still going to be victorious and go up 1-0. And like you said, I did like the swap from the Doomfist over to the Hanzo, but the Hanzo into the Bastion kind of was a questionable play for me, especially nanoing a non-ulted Bastion. I think that was sort of where Texas's footing kind of slipped and they weren't able to maintain anything.
Yeah, and I will not lie, when you're under pressure, sometimes, you know, you fall back into that solo queue mentality. Texas has not had the opportunity to play as long together as the Boise State squad has, and so that's something that'll come, the comfortable playing with your own teammates as they swap around and change the meta slightly will come with experience and time. Now in this next map, you can actually see the Boise State's falling back into the Reaper comp along with that Torbjorn, so it'll be very interesting to see how they plan to play this out, noting that Texas does have the Symmetra advantage to get point first.
State right now, not going to be too worried about it as the Broncos have found their way to the point. Only elimination to speak of right now is the turret for the Torbjorn. Boise State doing a great job, but you can see the health bar's a little bit lower on the side of the Broncos. Another turret is going to fall, but that's the elimination that matters. And Boise State's going to pick up 2, 1 onto the Ryan, 1 on to the Lucio, and Boise State now sitting up 2 has to feel very, very comfortable as the point unlocked. Respawns have come out, and the Broncos not able to capitalize on their 2 other advantage, but it looks like Texas probably smartly fell off the point. They're going to allow Boise State to take control.
You can see Boise State's doing this double bubble trouble again, and what they're doing is this ring around the rosy technique where they have this slight engage and disengage coming thanks to their speed boost from their Lucio, and that's creating a huge advantage while they can encompass and surround the enemy team.
Yeah, double coalescence going to come out. Photon barrier as well coming out from this and that, and the shatter being thrown at Boise State from the Ryan, and none of it's going to stick. Boise State, you can see chasing the Longhorns all the way back into the spawn. Going to get a swap over to Ashland. Boise State sustaining with just the coalescence through a trio of ultimates from Texas.
Honestly, Texas did not give a full opportunity for their team to completely reset during that last fight, and it felt like they were staggering in and staggering using their own ults and abilities in conjunction with one another, which gave Boise State an opportunity to jump on them when they were not prepared for this next fight. BSU has 2 ultimates already online, along with 3 others about to come up, and if they play them right, this fight will go in their favor.
Grab's going to come out. A large bagel tried to answer with the Sound Barrier, Primal Rage, and the Death Blossom, both going to be used by Boise State, and only going to pick up 1 kill despite the double damage ultimate. Boise State going to get another one onto this and that, but they are bleeding members, and it does look like Texas has found a way onto the point as Plato goes down. So this time it was Boise State throwing all the ultimates at Texas, and the Longhorns surviving. They're going to cap the point here at about 75%. A large bagel trying to contest it, trying to let his team get back onto the point. He might have actually bought enough time as Young's going to go down. He will pay for that. We'll see if Boise State can get back on it. Molten Core is going to come out. Scarlet going to drop the coalescence, and that this time will be Boise State's cue to drop back, but they did get all the way to 86%, so good job stalling out.
Yeah, Boise State did use 2 ultimates, but they got an extra 10%, so 5% per ult is 100% worth it. They're going in, however, a little bit dry on this next fight. As you can see, they did swap out for a Widowmaker, and Asu's coming in on Coalescence, but Texas is up on their DPS ult and their Sound Barrier, so this might be an opportunity for a dry fight for Boise State.
We're going to see this and that. He's going to get the pick this time on the Goblet, so Boise State not going to have any sort of advantage. Shatter is online for the Longhorns. It looks like Boise State right now just trying to build where they can. They know they lost Goblin. He has respawned, so he'll get back to the fight, but good job by this and that, getting that snipe onto the Widow.
We can see that Texas is actually coming out with both tank ults, both DPS ults, and 1 support ult. They have a huge advantage in this fight, but Boise State is creating this momentum and forcing them onto the point. They are losing the advantage that they had by throwing that bomb out fast.
Shatter did land onto a large bagel. He will pay for it. Asu and Kel both going to go down. Looks like Guac will fall. So Goblin, now the last remaining member, does have a Tracer in his face. He will fall as well. So Texas with a great little team kill onto Boise State. Now the Broncos nearing in on final few fight territory.
It actually might be time for Boise State to rethink that Widowmaker pick, and they switched over to a Doomfist. Widow just does not have a lot of sustainability by herself and can be picked off and harassed by Tracer and Ash a little bit too much. But you can see that Texas does have a Graviton Surge as well, both of their support ults, whereas Boise State only has their Monkey ult. I do not know if they'll be able to fully capitalize on that ultimate during this fight.
Coalescence going to come out. Boise State going to trade 1-for-1. Grab came out as well. Didn't land on as many members as Texas was probably hoping for. As this and that and Kahari are both going to go down. Hung going to answer back with one of his own, but Plato trade 1-for-1. And Boise State in a very back and forth fight should be able to win a battle of attrition right now. And Boise State, you can see very close to capping the point. There they will get it. And that was a very long and drawn out fight. And that might end up costing Texas. But you can see we are in last fight territory already.
We are in last fight territory. Boise State expelled one of their DPS ults, rather unnecessarily. They have a lot to do with their tank and support ult. Let's see if that doesn't come back to bite them in the booties during this fight, as they're down an ult that could have been viable.
And we did see Texas go with the aggro sound barrier, popping in and then letting everyone charge in. Unfortunately, did not work out. A large bagel now comfortably able to use his. Boise State should be able to cap this of the Broncos this time, holding on, and it's a nice little comeback win. Still going to win map 1, but Texas definitely proving to be a very, very tough team. Nearly won that map, and if it wasn't for a long, drawn-out fight that probably was revolved around a missed grab from the Texas Longhorns, probably should have gone their way.
It should have, and you can see that Boise State is a team that does have their own fair amount of mistakes, one of them being they will pop ultimates that are unnecessary. More than once you can see our DPS are popping ults in a fight that's already won, or there's no one even around them, as it's more of that, I need to protect myself, I'm so low on my health pool, and not communicating with their teammates. It's something that they'll get rid of. It's a bad habit. It'll go away towards mid-season, but here early in the season, that demeching yourself to use a self-destruct to get a remech back, those are the things that can really undo your team's flow, so to speak, as it literally is just tossing an ult into the wind. So we're going to see if the next team if this next match on this next map kind of plays off of Boise State's inability to hang on to their own ultimates.
Yeah, and it also felt like a little bit of going back to what you were comfortable on. I mean, I know we've seen Goblin in other matches with his hit scan. It's really incredible, but you have to wonder if the Widow really had much of a point on that map, especially it came out, this and that, immediately picked it down, and the fact that Goblin still came back with it, almost like a salty run back to me, I think cost Boise State a fight. So it will be curious to see if Texas makes Boise State uncomfortable. They force them, as we talked about, into that sort of solo queue mentality of, oh, hey, well, let me hop on my main and sort of slap you around, where Widow doesn't really fit in the whole grand scheme of a control map, because as you mentioned, little self-sustained, and she's not going to be on the points. So that was a good job by Texas, at least for a slight minute there, making Goblin a bit uncomfortable and forcing him onto a bad pick.
Yeah, and now we are actually moving on to Dorado. I did mention earlier, Havana was not a super practice map for Boise State, but Dorado was, and they are on their comfort picks again with that double bubble trouble coming out, and we've got Guac once again on his hit scan. I'm really excited to see how much they can take advantage of Plato on the Reaper, as he'll have so much ability to move from high ground and low ground.
Fight is going to break out right now, going to hop right around the point. Boise State not going to wait for Texas to push forward. You can see Kahari dropping very, very low, forced to shield and retreat just a little bit. He is going to get some healing. Plato putting a ton of damage in from the side. Hack is going to go out onto a large bagel. He should be able to survive for now. Boise State got to be very, very aware of where that Sombra is in the EMP. It is up to 40%. Kahari once again dropping very, very low, but Asu going to be the first elimination, and already a nano going to come out on Kahari, and he is just going to start swinging. He's going to pick up one. Hung's going to pick up another one, and Boise State that time not going to be able to be victorious, and now they've got to get back and force another fight.
We've got Amber coming out here from Texas this side here on the Diva, which is huge on this point. She allows for so much control on the high ground. You can harass the Torbjorn. You can see the Boise State is sticking with their Zarya pick, which could very well be their demise. As I mentioned earlier, Diva is a bit stronger. Also, they are dealing with that Sombra, and the best thing to spy out a Sombra is Diva spam. So will Boise State swap out or not?
Bob is going to join the fight. A hack is going to land on the Guac. Right now, Boise State's taking a ton of damage. Kel and Asu both going to go down. Shatter going to completely with Molten Core and a last-ditch effort from Goblin going to come out. But right now, Bob putting in work. He's going to pick up his 3rd kill in his short duration. This is not going to add one on to Plato and a large bagel. The Ash getting every kill for the Longhorns, and they're going to get their first cap and keep pushing that payload. I'll be curious if Boise State wants to make any swaps.
We've got Texas showing that they can flex their Ash skills just as much as Plato can, and Boise State should know that to counter those dynamites from the Ash, you need that Diva. Kel hanging on to this Graviton Surge at 80% is not worth it. He has wasted 2 fights here sitting down Zarya when he could have swapped to Diva and helped take care of this Sombra issue that's going to become very prominent as they have EMP this next fight.
Oh, lessons from Asu going to start things off. Guac in a primal range as well. Nano and Valkyrie both going to be used. The Scarlet is going to go down. EMP still being held on to there by Hung. You can see he's right on the back line trying to give Goblin some trouble. And Boise State unfortunately only able to pick up 1 elimination with those 2 ultimates being used. Did have to use his Valkyrie on the side of Texas. They're going to trade this and that for Asu, but a res going to come out. Kohari, though, will fall while the res comes out, so Boise State still going to be sitting in a 5-on-5. The EMP still just being held onto right now by the side of the Longhorns. Plato going to have to disengage, and Boise State, you have to like how that fight went as they're bleeding time, and the EMP not going to be used as Sombra's going to go down.
Yeah, Large Bagel's doing a great job of being a red at Lucid, trying to stay out of range of that Sombra. So if this team does get EMP, he can save them, and we got a Ripple coming in, but being canceled by Diva. As I said, she's so strong, but Plato is just gonna keep running headlong into Texas and tell them he is not stopping until they are all dead.
That was a huge auto defense matrix from Amber, and the fact that Plato still got a couple of eliminations is just absolutely paramount to how he plays that champion. And the fact that EMP has still not been used by Texas sort of feels like they're throwing their advantage away.
Actually, what I think is trying to happen right now is they're waiting for that EMP bomb combo in an open space. Dive really needs open space to be viable. Boise State kept them in a pretty small space, and that was not a good spot for them to be using those 2 ults. And they're using the small ult, they're using that same ult in this small space, so it's not going to be as much of an advantage as they had hoped.
3-man EMP came out, but a great job by a large bagel to dodge the EMP and immediately slam down the sound barrier there. The Nano did go out onto Kohari, who has swapped over to the Winston. Not going to matter. That is going to be a dead monkey. And Boise State, once again, as you mentioned, doing a great job stopping the dive. The Diva Bomb never coming out. Goblin there in the backline. They'll get a pick on Young, and that felt like a forced EMP that time, almost like a huge headshot onto this and that. But that was a forced EMP, kind of like you were talking about. You could see what Texas was waiting for, and Boise State did a great job countering it and sort of getting a panic EMP.
No one can hide from my
Exactly,
sight.
and now, I will not lie, Goblin's kind of proven us wrong, being able to pull out this Widowmaker and use his infrared sights to try and hack out and figure out where Sombra is at. But now that Texas has swapped over to the Monkey Dive, he may need to swap and change to a different hero, as Widow might not be as viable.
Scarlet going to go down. Plato going to get a first elimination. You can see Amber dropping very low, or at least the neck portion of the Diva health bar dropping low. This and that going to go down to Guac. The Boise State now sitting comfortably up to Young going to go down as well, swapping over to the Tracer, no longer on that Sombra. And Boise State, after a very weak point 1, with an excellent hold here, just under 2 minutes left.
And you can see Boise State is chilling out on 3 ultimates, and Asu is 50% 2 coalescence. And as we all know, Moira can get that ult during the middle of that fight. We've got Texas with about 4 ultimates coming online as well. So this is going to be a he who ults first will win, and we're just going to have to see who gets that first kill.
Bob and Diva Bomb both going to come out. Deathlock's going to be used by Plato to once again a lackluster damage, but the grab's going to come out as well as the primal rage, and that's where Boise State is going to find the victory here. 2 members going to go down. Kohari in on the back line. He will fall as well, so Boise State, both teams going to throw 3 ultimates at him, and the Broncos going to come out victorious. But once again, the Death Blossom, not the game changer that we're used to seeing.
No, but as you can see, Large Bagel is doing a fantastic job of amping up skills and speeding in to help his Reaper, whatever his Reaper is charging into doing Death Blossom, as well as helping out his Monkey in the same way. And that is a fantastic Reddit Lucio play coming out from Large Bagel. And if he continues to do that, honestly, he could be the ace of the hole for this fight, helping BSU sustain during some of the major ultimates.
And I'm going to go on to Kohari, does have the primal range. Pulse Bomb going to come out from Young, not going to land on anyone, but Guac dropping very low will be taking it down. Scarlet and this and that both going to pick up eliminations of their own. So finally, Texas showing some life, going to pick up 3 quick eliminations. Boise State does have the sound barriers. Young going to get a little bit too greedy on the back line, but Boise State now has probably 1 fight left to hold with the sound barrier online, but Texas feeling confident after that one.
Yeah, Boise State is entering one-fight territory. Honestly, if they choose to, they could drag this out to 2 fights if they speed in quickly. But we only have one definite ult on both sides. Boise State is about to have 2 ults come online, and they almost have Bob on the side of Texas. And with Ash going down, Boise State has a huge advantage right here in this, what could be the last fight.
Soundberry going to come out from a large. Bagel Kahari has popped the Primal Rage. Boise State now going to get their second elimination. Winston dropping very, very low. He's the only thing defending the point. Now Amber's going to have to go in. Death Blossom is available for Plato. He's going to throw it. Why not? He'll pick up Amber in the process. And Boise State, you can see, just trying to hold on for overtime. And the Broncos going to slow down the Texas push with a really great second point defense.
Honestly, the Widowmaker, I had my doubts, but obviously Tracer from Texas could not capitalize on maintaining high ground control. It's really hard to do, especially at that second point. Goblin was just able to pick off the enemy team as much as he wanted to do. I'm very excited to see what comp Boise State decides to start with. Are they going to go with the double bubble hybrid dive comp, or are they going to go straight dive this time, knowing that they kind of were getting harassed a little bit from the enemy team's Ash during the last round, but they could try and stick with their old comp and just simply be trying to perfect it. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how fast Boise State can get point 1, because Texas got it basically without much resistance. It was just 2 fights and they kind of took over. So I'll be curious to see how quickly Boise State can get to point 1 and then see how much time they're going to leave themselves to try and get that 67 meter to win the match, because Texas was incredibly fast. If Boise State takes a couple minutes, they're going to make their job of winning this map just a little bit harder.
Yeah, it will be a little bit harder. You can actually see it looks like Texas is trying to come out with that Genji to start, which could be their downfall, as Genji playing into the comp that Boise State has. There's just a lot of forward beam damage that he cannot deflect the Tesla cannon, and Azaria damage going out, as well as May beam. It's just a little too much for that Genji, so they might have just spelled their own doom before the doors even open.
I mean, you can obviously see Texas probably trying to set up for what would be a nano blade situation where they can just get a quick ace, but when you're on defense, I think the strategy should all be about bleeding time, not getting the flashy play of the game. So we'll be curious to see. Looks like the Longhorns waiting to just kind of hold on to the high ground. A large Bagel trying to move somebody down to the Boise State side, not able to get that. He's going to sustain a little bit of damage. Boise State now jumping in on top of the Longhorns. A large Bagel is going to get slapped. He's going to pay for that one. Good job by Scarlet getting one. This and that going to get another one. Boise State trying to get Diana, dropping her very, very low, but it's not going to pay off. Goblin will fall. It looks like for Boise State, they're just going to have to give up at least the momentum they had as Plato goes down as well. Boise State forced to sort of wait for the respawn.
I will not lie, Texas actually got very lucky during that last play. They were able to take advantage of Lucio's mid-play coming from a large Bagel. The thing with Boise State's playstyle right here is that it is dive in, dive out, and create kind of poke damage and take out someone who's in a bad positioning. Whereas Texas is playing off of staying together. They don't have a lot of speed, they don't have a lot of movement, so if Boise State can divide them, they will have a huge opportunity during this next fight.
Locking to jump in with the Tesla cannon, try and put as much damage onto the Longhorns as they can. Young Nair over there, as you mentioned, Dirty Bird not able to deflect the Tesla cannon, and that's going to spell his demise as the punch and block lands. We do have the Nano already coming out onto Kahari, but right now we don't see the Reinhardt swinging with the Empower damage. Boise State just sort of stalling it out. Respawn has come out. Now the Broncos can know they can go all back in. Kahari dropping very, very low. Bob's going to join. He's going to have to make up for the -1 deficit on the side of Texas. Boise State now going to take down Bob, so they're officially up 1 as they're still waiting for the Reinhardt to respawn. Coalescence is available. Kel dropping very, very low. Primal Rage is going to come out, but the mech does go down. Watch is not care, swinging his fist back and forth. He's going to pick up 2 kills in that process as he's going to get both the totally forgot what that guy's named at this point. The guy with the blade. Genji. There we go. He's going to take down the Genji and the Mercy. Boise State well on their way to capping that first point.
Yeah, as you just Boise State has a very balanced composition. Goblin did switch over to the Hanzo away from the Widowmaker, which is actually insanely smart considering the amount of speed and self-sustain that Hanzo can have from that extra movement is huge when playing against that Genji. Boise State, if they can keep this momentum up and keep dividing Texas, will be able to get this round, this match, and possibly fight.
Well, Young tried to use the Dragon Blade there and immediately went down. No Nano to help keep him up. This and that dropping extremely low, but Bob is going to be able to come in and get the kill. There's a switch on to Tracer and a large Bagel. Boise State going to be forced to fall back. A team kill going to come out from Texas. Bob really carrying that one, and I would not have expected that result after the Genji Blade basically was just met with instant death.
Yeah, that Genji Blade was met with instant death, and you can see that HUE actually then did switch to Tracer to try and get back to the point faster, but the issue that Texas I am seeing is that they have kind of a split comp that is between two different types of speed playstyles, whereas Boise State is able to throw everything forward all together all at once and is supposed to be in your face. Will Texas be able to counter that during this next fight? I don't know.
Right now you see Goblin, he's trying to get a pick onto this and that, who right now is the sniper Boise has to be wary of. He gets one pick onto Ace, you can see it up there on the high ground. There's the headshot Goblin needed for Boise State, and immediately the Broncos push their advantage. Nano did go out onto Kahari, but right now he's one of the few remaining survivors out of the mech. Unfortunately, a couple missed shots from Goblin means Baby Diva is going to survive, but that headshot onto this and that totally changed that fight, and that'll have Boise State for a very, very clean win.
And you can see Kel right there using that self-destruct to remech, which is a huge no-no for Diva players. That's a little red check mark right there for you, Kel. You should always be relying on your support to help you either remech, because that is a huge zoning ultimate, and also a game-changing ultimate that we could have had online for our team.
And we're going to throw in the Diva Bomb, not going to land on anyone. Scarlet does go down, and Plato, he's in on the back line, and Texas has no idea. Death Blossom picks up 3. Boise State going to win this one. It's just a matter of taking down Amber out of the mech. Scarlet going to try and do what she can, but I don't think she's going to get there. And Plato with perhaps the play of the game. He caught Texas, high ground players just napping, and immediately made them pay. That was incredible. Texas had no idea. He could have emoted, and they still would have had no idea where he was.
Honestly, this is one of those times where I'm asking, do you have your in-game sound effects turned up and your spatula sound activated? Because you should be able to hear Reaper's massive boot footsteps right behind you. That's a game mechanic. You need to be listening for those sound cues, because he was there for a solid chunk of time and they could have turned and killed him. Plato, that was one sneaky play and you weren't even crouching. I am shocked that you pulled it off as well as you did.
Opened up Boise State to go on to their second 2-0 lead of the HUE Fest Rewind. Taking a look at how the Boise State Overwatch team did in HUE Fest over the weekend. It was going on at the same time as the League of Legends matches, so it's a little hard to broadcast both of them. So it is a rewind there. You can see on your screen the players that we have been watching in HUE Fest, who currently right now are off to a great start. A 3-0 win over Messiah, and now currently leading 2-0 over the University of Texas Longhorn Gaming. And these ones have been a bit closer. Texas definitely proved to be a formidable opponent, but Boise State, that was just, like I said, an insane Reaper play that, as you said, is your sound on, or did you take your headphones off? I mean, he was just sitting there. He even like walked past the Mercy's like, they have no idea I'm here. I'm just going to hit Q and we're going to win.
Yeah, that is something that comes with experience, is identifying the audio cues within game. It takes a little bit of time, and honestly, it's one of those, gotta close your eyes and who am I hearing behind me? Granted, you'll never be able to hear Sigma or Zenyatta, but everybody else has footsteps in this game, and they're very important. And it looks like we're going into this next fight with a double dive tank combo coming out from Boise State, as well as a large bagel on Zenyatta, so they're planning to be doing a lot of shield piercing damage and following up on a lot of discords. And you can see Goblin is on his comfort pick of the Torbjorn, but we've got enough forward pressure coming out from Plato with the damage boost, as well as our 2 tanks, that Torb is just going to have free range on this point.
Yeah, the Sombra pick for Texas is kind of interesting, because you can see where Plato is he's not going to be able to easily get an EMP up there, if at all. So he's going to have to basically wait for his team to force Boise State off of the high ground before he gets any sort of EMP action going on. See the Sombra in on the backline right now. Boise State going to be pushed off their high ground there. Good job by Texas to get Plato off of a very familiar person. Right now he's putting a ton of damage in this and that. Going to drop very low. You can see already up to 30% on the Bob ultimate. Good job by Texas. They're going to dive in right on top of him. Kohari and Plato going to trade another trade as Scarlet and Goblin both going to go down, but the res from Ace is going to get Boise State closer to full strength, hack onto Guac, but right now Boise State should be able to pull away with Plato on this Ash. You can see the ton of damage he is doing and take down this and that. Kel going to get Amber out of the mech, going to mess around with the Baby Diva just to sort of mess with the spawns. We'll see if he probably jumps off the edge. There he goes, and a great win for Boise State.
As a fellow previous Diva main, I can totally relate. No, it's nothing against you, it's just the way the game is played. And you can see that actually Boise State is playing with their Diva quite well and using her to scout out that Sombra, as they've had issues scouting Sombra in the past and her being the doom for their DPS. So as long as our tanks are supporting our DPS with regards to that Sombra, we should be okay this round.
And he was able to get a pick onto a large bagel, and then immediately the res is going to come out. Kohari was able to be rezzed by Texas. Unfortunately, this and that is going to pay for all of that, and there is no res for the Longhorns this time. Young going to get another one, though, onto large bagel to even digs out, and Texas has gotten respawn for their monkey. He's just going to have to trot right on back to the point. Boise State doing a great job so far. You can see the Valkyrie has come out from Asu. Diva Bomb going to be used by Kel as well. Plato getting very, very close to the bomb. EMP is online, but right now Texas probably going to want to hold on as the health bars are evaporating. 3 members going to go down. You can see Plato going to drop very low. Him and this and that have a nice little Ash duel. They're going to trade kills with Boise State with a nice win. A ton of ultimates for both teams.
This is not the end.
As you can see, this Boise State squad is keen on constantly being in motion. Granted, a large bagel on Zenyatta is a little bit more stationary than he normally is, but for the rest of BSU, they are constantly going in circles and surrounding Texas, and Texas is just not able to pinpoint one player and take them out fast enough. Maybe they're going to have to really start calling out one player and focusing. Will they be able to do that? Let's find out.
Plato going to get a huge damage chunk and a 5-man EMP going to land from Young. Let's see if Texas can follow it up with the Primal Rage and the Coalescence. They'll get one onto Plato, a second one onto Asu, and the Longhorns have got to be loving how that EMP worked out. Walk going to get secondary hacked as well. He will fall over. Now Boise State's defense has completely fallen apart. Kahari dropping very, very low. Goblin trying to do what he can. Can't get the health pack as it has been hacked. Young, the MVP for the Longhorns. They'll pick up 2 more, and that is what you have to be worried about. A huge EMP was almost a game winner, or I should say a fight winner for Texas.
Yeah, that is a great fight winner for Texas, but if you look at it into this next engage, they aren't going to be able to snowball as much as they would have if they'd saved that EMP to use it with a self-destruct on this next fight to be able to easily take point B, but they're actually dragging out this fight on point A a little bit by only having 1 or 2 people capping it. It's giving Boise State an opportunity to drag out that clock timer even more.
Yeah, Texas maybe getting a little bit too overzealous. Transcendence going to come out as well as the Primal Rage. Molten Core came out from Goblin as well. Coalescence and Valkyrie going to be used by the Longhorns to try and sustain, and the Large Bagel's going to be the first one to go down. Diva Bomb going to come out from both of them at the same time. Nobody going to get a kill, but Kel's going to punch this and that and hop right back into the mech. Amber going to go down as well before the mech can regenerate. And Boise State, just like that, Bob's going to pick up another one. The Broncos making Texas pay for a little bit of lackadaisical play. Io basically chalked it up to Texas is on to the next point. And now you can see with 10 seconds left, the Longhorns might not make it back in time.
Yeah, I just wish Kel had not just, hockey puck that Diva Bomb right up into the air and try to actually finesse it a little bit, because he can make some massive kills here. We'll see if Boise State can hang on to this point for the end of this round with a no-take here for point A on Volskaya.
Primal Rage going to come out from Kahari, not able to get anything right now. All Texas has to show for their final push is a turret and a mech, as Plato's going to take down Kahari. Finally, the first elimination is Young. Going to get one on Zaguak, but Scarlet will fall in the process. The Longhorns trying to hold on here into overtime. Goblin and Plato going to pick up a pair each at Boise State with probably a hold that should have never happened, as the Longhorns won a clear fight. You can see Boise State was just sort of stalling, and you have to wonder what was going through with the Longhorns there. You could see 85%, but that should have easily been a move on to point B. That was sort of wild to see that happen.
So there was a lack of communication coming out from the side of Texas here, because they only did have one person on the point. That drastically impacts the capturing speed of the point, and they had everyone else pushing up, but they did not communicate when one of their teammates went down or was low, so they were not ready to disengage and fully just cap point A, which spelled their doom for this fight. You cannot disregard a point just because you feel like you have it. You have to make sure you have that 100% tick. Otherwise, you can end up with a reverse sweep like Boise State did and take it back without the full cap.
Yeah, I think it would be a big shout out to Plato. I think he was able to duel this and that. Got the winning elimination. Did end up going down to the dynamite ticking damage, but that is what stopped the cap. As you mentioned, Nerdy, they only left this and that back on the point. I guess they were trying to go for the snowball into point B, but it backfired. So now the question is, how can Boise State make them pay? They only need about 85, 86% to 3-0 the Longhorns here.
Well, as you can see, the Longhorns are actually pulling out a comp that is eerily similar to that of Boise State. However, they are playing with the Moira, which can be a slight disadvantage because they don't have as much damage focus as you could get from the Zenyatta with that Discord. And we are playing in with a Reaper and a Widowmaker, which can both be used at long and short range while our tanks are engaging. So this will be very interesting for Boise State.
Goblin going to be the first one. He's going to be chunked extremely low by this and that. Plato going to try and teleport in on the back line. You can see the high ground hold for the Longhorns. Boise State going to try and force them off right now. Not a lot of damage. This and that going to win the sniper battle, take down Goblin. We'll see how Boise State wants to proceed. Right now they're going to take down Kohari, even it up at one aside, but that's no tank now for the Longhorns. How can Boise State capitalize? You see this and that. Still getting empowered by the Mercy. Another kill onto Scarlet. Plato just running shop all over Texas right now. Make that 3. Guac's going to punch down Young to make it 4. Plato pick up his 4th kill of that engage. And Boise State off to an excellent start as they force Amber out of the mech. And the Broncos got to be loving how that works. Coalescence used by Asu. Maybe questionable.
Yeah, that may be questionable. As you can see, Boise State's got 4 players chilling out on that point. They're getting maximum percentage gain every second that they are there, which is a smart move to ensure that they take point A with no issues.
Yeah, you saw Kohari there on the Winston trying to rush into the point. No one else from Texas came out with any sort of mobility swap, so Boise State, if you want to be honest, probably lucking into at least an earlier victory there, as we talked about Texas completely whiffing the capture mechanics on how fast it won captures. Boise State realizing, hey, you put all 6 members on, it's going to cap a little quickly. So great job by Boise State, 3-0ing their second opponent. They've now taken down Messiah and Texas 3-0 here in our HUE Fest Rewind. One more game left in the group stage, and they are taking on the University of Miami, Ohio. The Red Hawks, who I did see 2-0 as well. So these are probably the 2 top teams of the group, competing to see who will win it. But right now for Boise State, gotta love how they're playing. Great play against Messiah. A little bit more sloppy against Texas, as you mentioned, Nerdy. There's some ults that you could say, was that really needed to be used? But still, you can't argue with the results. 2-3-0 victories.
Of course, I can't argue, but we will have to see how those bad habits kind of play out in these next few games, because they only tend to get worse as you continue to not be punished for it. So I'm really excited to see if Miami, which ironically enough is a school I applied to work at, hi guys, I'm excited to see if Miami is able to capitalize on those mistakes that Boise State makes, because honestly, that's going to be the best way for this team to learn that you need to be keeping track of all of this, and you cannot be just throwing everything willy-nilly. But before we do that, we're going to take a short break so that you and I can get some water and maybe, take care of ourselves for a little bit before we get to cast this next one.
Yeah, as Nerdy said, a quick break before the Broncos and Red Hawks face on the last game of the group play, and then we'll see if Boise State makes it onto the round of 16, who their opponent would be, and we'll have that game as well. But don't go anywhere. A quick break, Clearly, I need one, and then we'll get right back with the HUE Fest Rewind for the Boise State Overwatch team.
Here in Idaho, we do things a little differently. First rule, camouflage never goes out of style. Next, always use fry sauce. I mean, why wouldn't you? Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. We call it pop, not soda. We always put a lift on our pickups. And we always buckle up, because we still have a lot we want to do, and I'm guessing you do too.
Since 2016, universities have been adding varsity esports, competitive intercollegiate video game teams, with nearly 100 colleges and universities now with official programs. Esports is fast becoming the new college sport. But with any dramatic change comes criticism. How could institutions of higher learning promote something so trivial? But when you look a little closer, esports demonstrates, just like other sports, that it's a pathway to something more.
There's several misconceptions when it comes to esports and its place on the university campus. The first and foremost is that people would say it's not a valuable learning activity. It's not a place where people can learn new job-related skills or maybe get a good industry feel for what's happening outside the university environment. And that's just simply not the case. And all evidence points otherwise. There are so many new jobs. The industry is absolutely booming. People are looking for students that are graduating with experience in things like streaming and technologies, marketing, the whole business side, sponsorships. There's the whole graphics and coding component that involved in esports and other video game type of activities that are really important in just terms of jobs and industry.
And on their way to those careers, students who attend schools with varsity esports programs can compete for their university. But in order to be eligible, students have to meet the same high academic standards as other student athletes.
You have to maintain a certain GPA. You shouldn't be playing constantly. You should have like a certain time frame and like practice for like 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day. You shouldn't be just like overwhelming yourself.
Care about your grades first and foremost. As Dr. Haskell said, he cares about our grades first because we came to college to get an education, to get a degree, and then we also get to do what we love and play esports.
Athletics and other university-sanctioned activities bind students together with purpose, a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself, where we learn to work hard, play a role, lose with dignity, win with honor, all for our school. This is why we play.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Running a nice little rewind here. Welcome back to the HUE Fest Invitational over the weekend. If you remember, Boise State's League of Legends team was eliminated in the round of 16. At the same time, the Overwatch team was going at it in the HUE Fest Invitational. So now we're bringing you those games to get you caught up on how Boise State did in that tournament. Right now, Boise State sitting at 2-0. They have wins over Messiah and Texas. And now the Broncos moving on to the last team in their group, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Both teams sitting at 2-0 right now in group play, so this is going to be for the number 1 seed as the top 3 teams from the group advance. So we know Boise State's on to the round of 16. We just got to know where they're going to be. Fish and Nerdy Bird joining you for the cast. And Nerdy, this is going to be a tough test for Boise State. I mean, they sort of ran over Messiah. Texas was a little bit closer, a little bit of a hiccup there for the Longhorns, but now you're looking at Miami of Ohio. They're 2-0, Boise State at 2-0. That is going to be the showdown you wanted to see for who's going to take first place in this group.
I'm really excited because obviously this is kind of for all the marbles within our little group that we had going on, and it kind of is that little, it's a momentary bragging rights of, yes, we got number 1 within our little E division of teams, but overall it's also a great scouting opportunity for our team and the teams involved with this tournament to be able to see what we're about to be going up against across the board. So I'm really excited to see how we're going to do against Miami because, as you did say, they are 2-0 just like Boise State, so they are, so to speak, on par with us within this group, and I want to see how put together their team is in comparison to Boise State.
Yeah, and not to mention bragging rights, it also is, I know for the League of Legends portion, you know, depending on where you faced, if you were the first place in your group, you usually got to face a third place team from a different group. So if you're Boise State, you win this group, you might have an easier time in the round of 16 taking on a third place team from another group. Not quite sure if they had designed the Overwatch tournament in the exact same way, but you get first place, you usually get rewarded with a slightly easier opponent. As we take a look at some of the replays from the earlier matches, Plato doing some work on that Ash. Did have a couple times where he did get sniped out by both X22 and this and that, but overall was a huge driving force in the Broncos' victory. So I'll be curious to see how he's going to fare up against Miami of Ohio. Like I mentioned, Redhawks and Broncos both 2-0 in the group play. They both have beat Messiah and Texas because everyone plays each other. So like you said, bragging rights, potentially a better seed, potentially a better opponent in the round of 16, all on the line. And Boise State trying to hold on to that unblemished 6-0 map record as well. They have not dropped a single map here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see if they can keep the pace that they've had, the aggression that they've had going into all of this, and just how coordinated Boise State has been. This team has not had the opportunity to play together for a super long time, Plato has kind of been in and out of scrims with the BSU team since I was a player, so he's a little bit more familiar with our playstyle. But we have Goblin coming in here who's just like, hi, I'm a freshman brand new at this for the collegiate scene, but let me show you what I've got. And what he has is amazing. So I just want to continue to see what this Torbjorn master and soon to be Torbjorn book author has in store for us in this next match.
Yeah, that would be, though, I don't want to, say it's criticism because Boise State's 6-0, but that would be my one question mark is you mentioned he's been great on the Torbjorn. He sort of, it feels like his times has resorted back to the Widowmaker, and there have been some moments where it's like, okay, Boise State, the Widowmaker goes down. As you can see in this replay, drops very low, and Boise State loses that pressure. So it is going to be on him to make sure, even if things aren't going right on Torb, he either goes to the Widowmaker when he needs to and can make a play, but doesn't force it, because there are some maps where he brought the Widow, and you and I both kind of like, Widow doesn't quite fit in this map. I mean, I know it's comfort, but you've got to be, we've seen it in League of Legends all the time. One tricks don't always work at the collegiate scene because they get banned out. Just because you do something well in solo queue might not be the best for the team, so that is going to be a challenge, as you mentioned, for a freshman to say, hey, Torbjorn's not working, but I don't think Widow's the best pick either for this team.
Yeah, but I will not lie, both of our DPS players have a lot of cards they can pull out of their pocket for their skill, their playstyle, even on the heroes can change drastically based off of which comp Boise State decides to go with. They complement each other. Both our DPS players can complement one another very well, as well as our tanks with our DPS. So as long as the comms stay up, Boise State honestly has a very, very strong chance to continue to keep their record up and not lose a single map.
Yeah, and the other thing that maybe you and I have been keeping an eye on, the ult usage for Boise State hasn't always been as crisp as you would like. Some wasted ultimates, some DPS ultimates kind of thrown at the wayside of a winning fight, so I'll be curious to see. They've got away with it in Messiah and Texas, but like we said, Miami of Ohio is 2-0. Be curious to see if the Red Hawks are maybe a little bit more punishing on some wasted ults for the Broncos side, or if Boise State's able to maintain their winning ways despite some misplays. I know you talked about that Diva Bond from Kel thrown up in the air there. Probably could have been held on to.
Yeah, and I won't lie, Kel actually messaged me saying, I heard you call me out over the broadcast, so he's fully aware that I am going to be discussing his bomb usage with him later on this evening. However, this is a habit that's very hard to break, and it's a habit that's not just happening with our tanks, it's happening with our DPS. So the communication of when we're going to be using our ults from the Boise State team is something we've always struggled with, and making sure that we are fully communicating to our team, I'm planning to use it, okay, I'm using it, are two things that I hope we can see improving on throughout the course of either this next match or the course of this tournament as a whole.
We did say this is the HUE Fest Rewind, taking a look at how Boise State's Overwatch team did in the HUE Fest Invitational over the weekend. They're currently sitting at 2-0 in group play, heading on to their last match before the round of 16, taking on the University of Miami of Ohio, who's also at 2-0. So this is probably, like I said, this is the match you wanted to see. These are the two top teams in the group. I'll be very curious to see if Boise State, if they get a 3-0, they're letting the rest of the tournament know, hey, we are a force to be reckoned with. So I would love to see it from Boise State, as we're going to hop into that rewind here very, very shortly. And then we'll get the round of 16 game and however far the Broncos go. The League of Legends team lost in the round of 16, so we'll see if the Overwatch team can one-up them just a little bit.
I mean, either way that this tournament goes, this is a fantastic opportunity as a whole for not just League of Legends, but for the BSU team and for all the teams involved. This is a brand new tournament. Everything that went into it's been a fabulous experience, and I'm pretty sure the boys were just excited to even be a part of it.
Yeah, it's great to have tournaments like this. I know when it was announced that the names in this tournament were huge. I know on the League of Legends side, Maryville, they're a dominant force. I know on Overwatch's side, Mizzou, who's a team Boise State has matched up against, they are in this tournament fielding one, if not two teams, I believe, on the Overwatch side. So there are some big names. I know the University of Utah, another school Boise State's very familiar with, they are in this tournament. So there's some big name teams in this tournament that Boise State, if they can get to the round of 16, can definitely match up against. But before they do that, they've got to focus on winning the group. As I mentioned, the Miami of Ohio Red Hawks are the final opponent for Boise State here in the HUE Fest Rewind in the group play. Boise State sitting at 2-0, Red Hawks at 2-0. I cannot be more excited to kick things off here because, like I said, first game pretty easy against Messiah. Second game a little bit closer against Texas, but the Broncos did a good job holding them. Red Hawks have done the same thing, at least winning their game, so I'll be curious to see if we maybe get overtime, if we get both points captured as we hop into Kings Row to kick things off, a map we have not seen today.
Rims Row! Okay, I know everyone hates this map, but I personally love it ever since we pulled out the Statue of Liberty play 2 years ago. It's kind of always had a special place in my heart. And you can see that we've got Large Bagel once again on that Zenyatta pick, so he is prepping to have to counter any large CP coming out from Miami's side and ready to take down any sort
sort of major tank shield power they're going to have, and that just means Boise State really has to be focused on that communication coming out from Bagel, because those discards are going to be so important during these first few fights.
Kick things off here for Boise State. Be curious to see. It looked like there was a widow for a moment for Miami of Ohio, but the Red Hawks going to swap off of that one. They're going to go right in. Boise State inviting them into the point. Do see that they're trying to sneak around through that back building. Glock taking a little bit of damage. Plato dropping very low as well, but Boise State should be able to sustain as the Red Hawks waiting for their moment to strike. The shield holding from the Reinhardt. Boise State going with their double bubble comp here still with the Monkey and the Diva. Right now we see Fozix dropping a little bit low from all the spam, but a sleep's going to land onto Guac. Doesn't look like there's going to be much punish, if at all, from the Red Hawks, as they are going to now hop onto the point. The team's just trading back and forth. No serious damage to speak of. Now Fozix dropping very, very low from that Orb of Discord, but Kel knocked out of the mech by the Junkrat. He will go down. Boise State now has to do this without one of their tanks. It looks like for now the Broncos might just have to concede the point. We see one tick already going on. Maybe a second one as the Broncos now starting to fight back here. CGS going to be the one to fall for the Red Hawks. Unfortunately, Goblin will go down, and Boise State looking like they might be conceding this payload point. Guac going to get slept, hit by the anti-nade. He's just barely able to survive as Plato's putting some shots in, but right now there is not much contesting going on from the Boise State side. Kel going to be forced out of the mech once again. Guac is going to go down as the Transcendence was just a moment too late to save him. Revive will come out onto Guac. Boise State holding on for now. Grab going to come out from Hart. It's going to pick up one elimination. Fozik's going to get another one onto Guac. Hart's second elimination going to go into a large bagel, and in a very long and extended fight, it looks like finally the Red Hawks have broken through here. They're going to unlock the payload.
Boise State was honestly planning on taking that fight a little slower. They were intentionally goading Ohio onto the point because, as you can see, BSU was playing a slight dive style comp, and they needed more space than just playing around the statue. However, the pace at which Ohio set that fight was too slow for Boise State, and that rhythm that they had taken on, Boise State was not ready to counter. And so when they were trying to re-engage before that 2-tick mark, they couldn't quite get their foothold in, leading to their downfall in Miami taking point one with such ease.
Plato going to use Bob there, get him into the fight. Sound barrier going to be used by Jaybird, going to land on every single member of the Red Hawk. Shatter is going to go down. It'll start a pair of Broncos as the team's going to trade back and forth. The large bagel for CGS. Boise State now going to pick up another one there thanks to the Riptire. Red's going to go out onto large bagel. Boise State now getting a little bit more comfortable. Jaybird going to be the next one taking down. You can see the headshots going down. Hart will fall. Plato doing a great job. Got to be careful from the Junkrat spam, but Boise State going to win their first fight and send the Red Hawks packing.
And honestly, Boise State has a great place to be holding this first point. Archway is always where you try to retake, and that's exactly what they did. They put a barrier of separation between them and Miami's point team. However, Miami is coming in with two major ultimates. We could be seeing a Death Blossom coming out with a Nano Boost, which, if they can get on the back line of Boise State, will take out our comp.
Nano is going to go on to Quinku. Another Bob came out from Plato. That's 2 in 2 fights. Unfortunately for Boise State, they did lose Goblin. Valkyrie was used by Asu. He's going to swap over to the Reaper. Goblin will Plato is going to go down, and now the Red Hawks going to find their footing. Their own Death Blossom going to pick up 3. They'll pick up 2 more in the process. Goblin respawning, and a huge win for the Red Hawks as they're trucking along to point number 2.
Boise State is kind of losing their ability to focus down a single target at a time and also prioritizing the right targets at the right times. They're pretty much aiming for the biggest enemy team players that they can find and the first ones that they can find, and they are not prioritizing based off ultimates and abilities. We'll see if Boise State's able to take this point back, as they do have a huge grab coming in.
Grab is going to land. Fozik's going to use the Riptire, though. He's going to pick up 1, and that's going to turn the fight. As CGS going to pick up a pair. CACC is going to get another one, and Jaybird picks up the final one. Boise State, even with that grab, not able to get any momentum, and now Plato swapping over to the Sombra has a long way to go for that EMP, and you can see with the Red Hawks, a ton of ults already above 70%.
Yeah, Red Hawks definitely do have the ult economy advantage going into these next few fights, but if Boise State can just drag out 1, if not 2 fights, or choose to do a dry fight, they can turn the pace of this whole engage around to their favor, but they have to take control of the momentum of the fights.
Sound barrier going to go on to Jaybird, going to hit on to 5 members. Primal Rage did come out from Guac, but he got slept during it. Goblin is on the back line, but he has no Death Blossom. Nano did go on to Hart. We'll see if Boise State can punish a potential misclick here from the Ana on the side of the Red Hawks. Ace going to use the Coalescent, trying to sustain his team members. Guac has swapped over to the Reinhardt. Huge stun going to land. 5-man stun for Quinku, and Boise State's going to lose 1. A large bagel forced to use the sound barrier, only going to get a couple of members members with it, and he is now going to fall. Plato just now barely able to take out a steel trap. That's the only elimination Boise State has gotten in quite some time, and it looks like the Red Hawks going to confidently push forward, and they're going to go all the way to the end on Kings Row.
Boise State just did not have a strong opportunity to recollect themselves and reconvene and figure out what ultimates the enemy team had and that they had and what their game plan was going to be per fight and where those fights needed to happen. Instead, they kind of let Ohio take the reins, so to speak, and steer our horse in the direction of their fight.
Yeah, be curious to see now how Boise State wants to respond. The first time that you could say they bled a little bit so far in this tournament. A 3 cap from the Red Hawks with 3 minutes and 6 seconds left on the clock. So a ton of time if we do get to overtime. But right now, Boise State cannot worry about that. They've got to start with unlocking the payload here on Kings Row and trying to win a fight because they only had a few, if one win at that. It looks like we're going to see some Echo coming out from Goblin, a champion we haven't seen on, and the Doomfist from Plato. So a whole new DPS lineup here for the Broncos. At least for now.
So, yes, a whole new DPS lineup, probably because now they aren't so much going for the slow engage where they encompass the enemy team, but they are going for the amount of fights that they can get in this time as opposed to making them slow and dragged out, which they have swapped over to the Lucio as well, which will help bring up the pace of those fights and set it more to the side of Boise State. And with that, so long as you can maintain the control and the rhythm, so to speak, you have a huge advantage. Let's see if Boise State can actually maintain the momentum that they have previously had and pull it out for this next round on Kings Row.
Red Hawks not going to go with any swaps whatsoever. Very, very confident in how that comp worked. We'll see what Boise State wants to do. You can see Plato taking a little bit of damage. He's going to dash around the corner, try and get a flank here going. Boise State right now taking a ton of damage from those Junkrat bullets there, or I should say grenades, as Plato now forced very, very low on his flank attempt. He is alive, but you know the Red Hawks have information on where he is. He is going to heal back up to full. He sees the dive opportunity. He's going to jump right on in onto Hart, and he immediately evaporates one tank. He's going to dash right back out. Guac, though, is going to go down. So both teams down a tank. We'll see if Asu can land the res. Plato now going to land some damage onto CGS. Unfortunately, not going to be able to pick up the kill. Respawn has come through for Hart, but he's got to run all the way back as the steel trap is taken out. Goblin going to pick one up onto Jaybird. Plato doing what he can. Going to land a huge punch as Quinku's going to go down. Goblin picking up his second of the round. A wrecking ball swap coming out from Hart, trying to get back onto the point. CGS going to go down. Boise State remaining up 2 here. Didn't even need to use the resurrection. Hart going to fall down as well, and Boise State has to be loving how this kicked off. Unfortunately, right now for the Broncos, no one on the point to speed up the capping, and now everyone's going to hop on after a great fight win.
See, what Miami was trying to do there was similar to what Boise State attempted as well, which is we can give up a tick, wait for our team, and re-engage together, but without that communication of when that re-engage is going to happen, you had your tank stagger on, which got them killed a little bit too quickly for them to maintain control of the point. Now they are probably hoping to get the fight to start at Archway, but if Miami pushes too far forward and separates themselves, they could end up losing this fight a lot faster. We'll see if Boise State will ult first, though, because they do have Grav.
Valkyrie going to be used. There is the grab coming out. Nano is going to land onto Hart once again. It's going to be able to keep him alive. Ansi's going to land onto Plato and Guac, and that's going to be a double kill. Make that a triple, make it a quad. Why not we just make it a team kill for the Red Hawks through the grab? Just the Nano came out, and Boise State got 1 elimination.
They are honestly playing off of Isak is making some great anti-plays going out, and we are not doing anything to prevent our team from getting caught off guard by those. Boise State needs to swap something around, otherwise these antis and the nanos are going to be the end of the game, so to speak, for BSU.
Boise State going to full regroup here. Does have 4 ultimates available. Just a shatter on the side of the Red Hawks, but it's not going to matter. Hart's going to immediately fall. We are going to see a backline kill onto Plato. Primal Rage is going to be popped. Sound Barrier was forced to be used by a large bagel as well. That's going to get everyone but Guac. Jaybird's going to be forced to use his own. Rez is going to come out onto Plato to get Boise State back at full strength. The shatter from Goblin just going to land onto Quinku. Death Blossom, though, is going to come out, and Boise State's going to lose 2 before CGS falls. Goblin is going to get pinned, but they couldn't get the follow-up elimination. A hack does come out, but Boise State right now barely hanging on. You can see the health bars dropping very, very low. Kel, the first one to fall. The payload has sort of frozen here at this corner. Boise State trying to find any sort of momentum as the side's going to disengage here for a little bit.
Boise State has this ongoing struggle with choosing whether or not they need to be pushing the payload or pushing forward, as they don't have a cadence rhythm set to know who needs to be where and when. Once they get more acclimated to knowing who's in charge of payload pushing, they'll do a little bit better at controlling the timing on that. However, Boise State is still not pushing this payload and getting enough of an advantage to make a big play here.
Rez did come out onto Goblin after he lost that 1v1 with CGS. Now Goblin's going to pick another one onto Jaybird. Grab has been used by Hart, who has once again been nanoed by the side of CSAC. Redhawks really liking that nano onto a less conventional target. Valkyrie going to be used by Asu. You can see Goblin dropping very, very low, sitting at 8 HP. Healing came in, but it was not enough. Grab from Kel going to come up, but once again, the Redhawks are going to survive and turn the fight around on Boise State. Kel the first one to fall. A large bagel goes down as well, and Boise State now 0 for 2 on winning fights with that grab coming out.
See, Boise State is losing their target focus that they really need to realign their heads together and make sure they're focusing the same people. You can see Ohio has 2, if not more, people assisting in the kill feed per kill, whereas Boise State, we're not seeing a single kill come from our side.
Broncos have to be careful. Once again, an EMP up. We already saw a huge one, and there it is, a 5-man EMP going to land, and the Bronco health bars eviscerate. Goblin going to lose the ultimate health. Meteor Strike from Plato did pick up 2, so Boise State trying to hang on, walking to punch down Jaybird. As we see once again, Nano going to go onto Hart to keep him alive. Plato will fall in the process, and a great job by Boise State as Goblin falls. Guac probably going to go down just trying to do what he can. They survived the EMP enough to answer back and maybe get this second point, but they'll probably have to disengage and wait.
Yeah, it looks like Boise State's going to have to do 2, if not, well, 1, if not 2 more fights. As you can see, Miami is coming out with a sound barrier, a graviton surge, as well as death blossom, whereas Boise State's only going to be re-engaging with a sound barrier. So their options are do a quick dry fight or try to get an early pick and then engage on when Miami is down 1. We'll see if they can get that early pick here, though.
Right now, still waiting for the first elimination. Asu dropping very, very low. Going to get picked out of the sky by Fossick. We'll see if Boise State wants to hold on for a dry fight. Grab is going to come out. A large bagel still going to use the sound barrier, but after 2 members already go down. Plato dropping very, very low. He is going to fall. Boise State trying to fully engage and wait for one last fight. Kale going to get a pick onto Quinku before the Broncos disengage, but Nerdy, that felt like it should have been a dry fight for the Broncos.
It should have been, and this is one of those things where that ult economy is so huge. If you do not have someone constantly tracking ultimates, you are creating a disadvantage for yourself.
Death Blossom picked up 2 before it was a elimination, and there's the grab for Boise State. Finally able to win one around the grab. Asu still has the Valkyrie. You can see Fossick's in on the back line. He does have the EMP. We'll see if he can land another one. But with the member going down for the Redhawks, it looks like he should probably wait for it. He's going to just get punched into a wall. My goodness, that body went flying. And Boise State now going to unlock it. Less time, but still a chance here to force overtime.
Yeah, Boise State still has a great fighting chance to do this, but now they've really got to pull their resources because they are playing into a EMP coming out from Sombra, and that has spelled their doom more than once as it destroys our Echo, our Doomfist, and our Monkey all at the same time. And that was another 6-man EMP, and that's just huge.
Yeah, you can see Boise State, the health bar is just going to fall. This time it looks like the Broncos going to smartly hold on to their 2 ultimates and set themselves up for a couple more fights. But that time I like it. I mean, it's kind of a forced dry fight. You can't do anything during the EMP as they do get a pick onto Fossick. But Boise State doing a great job saving resources now with just over a minute left. Goblin now going to try and jump in on the back line. Valkyrie has been used by Asu. He will try and copy the Reinhardt. They're going to go in and get a huge pin onto CSAC. A Shatter going to be used as well. Not going to get much. Jaybird is going to be forced to use the sound barrier. Rez going to come in out onto Guac. Boop off the edge for Kel to keep Boise State down just a man, but the Broncos continue to push. CGS going to fall. Quinku has respawned. We'll see if Boise State can make them pay. The scattered respawns have allowed the Redhawks to get back to full strength, and Boise State now has 1 fight left.
Yeah, Boise State does have 4 major ultimates coming online during this next fight, whereas you can see Ohio only has 1, almost 2 coming in. However, these are 2 from their major playmakers on their team, so if they can manage to get a good Death Blossom or a good Nano, they could push back against Boise State, and we are in the last fight territory here, so it's all about ult control now.
Meteor Strike gonna pick up one for Boise State. A large bagel forced the sound barrier, going to land onto 5. Guac gonna get hacked, so he's not able to use the Primal Rage. Graviton going to come out, but the shield going to be used from Quinco to block a lot of incoming damage for Boise State. There's an EMP from Fozix. It's going to land on just 2 members of Boise State, but Guac will go down. Kel gonna get pinned and go down, and Boise State running out of time. Goblin trying to do what he can. You can see how close the Broncos got, but the Red Hawks going to give the first dent in the Boise State armor. They'll pick up the first win of this best of 5.
I gotta say, I feel like Boise State kind of wrote their own story and knew that how that was going to turn out from the beginning by not making some quintessential swaps that they've been made well aware of need to happen into these cases. Because, you know, like I said, I stated this earlier, D.Va is very powerful in the current meta. Yeah, she wasn't so powerful previously, but playing into a Sombra, she is one of the best things you can have to scout out where she is at, and with her firing rate, we needed that D.Va looking for Sombra because she was the playmaker for Miami during that last round. Now, will Boise State learn from that mistake and pull out and rely on Kel's D.Va a little bit more, or they change it up completely? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, there was a 5-man EMP by Fozix. There was a 6-man EMP that basically just shut down Boise State's chances. And then once again, it has been a slight reoccurring theme in this tournament is there have been some interesting ults. We saw 2 members had already gone down. The Grav had been drawn out from the Red Hawks, and then a large bagel dropped the sound barrier that ended up just really not saving anyone. If you hold that, maybe you can use it in the next fight. So it has felt like a little bit trigger happy sometimes on the ultimates for Boise State. So we'll see if they can hold those and say, hey, look, we've already lost the fight. Let's just let the Red Hawks blow what they did and then come back with everything still online.
Yeah, and honestly, that's something that just kind of comes with experience in the collegiate scene because there is so much communication that's going on both team sides. You can't get away with the, oh, we're down 2, I'm just going to ult now and try to win the fight because the enemy team has been tracking you as well, and they are ready for you to try and do that. So you've got to think a level above and a level ahead, so to speak, and kind of up your level of thinking when it comes to using your ultimates. And unfortunately, being a little too trigger happy is a downfall of many, many Overwatch players.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really, like, finicky situation because, as you've mentioned, he who ults first usually wins, so you want to make sure you're on top of pressing the ultimates, but there's that split second where you've got to say, hey, we've lost the fight, don't use anything. So it is a very, very difficult thing to get used to. Boise State so far hasn't really faced too many issues. They are turning at 2-0, but right now the Red Hawks trying to give them their first loss. This is the HUE Fest Rewind. Boise State and Miami of Ohio, the last play in group play for the HUE Fest before we move on to the round of 16. Boise State and the Red Hawks sitting at 2-0, but Miami of Ohio up 1-0 after a very, very near overtime, but a win on Kings Row nonetheless.
Yeah, and now we're going to be going into Hanamura, which is probably one of everyone's least favorite 2 CP points next to Volskaya. It is very easy to snowball or complete hold on this point, and as you can see, we've got Miami pulling out their Sombra pick once again, but Boise State has learned their lesson and has Kel back on the D.Va, so let's see if they can keep her in track this time.
We do see as a fight breaks out some information about Miami of Ohio. They have teams in League of Legends, Hearthstone, and Overwatch. They have their own esports arena, much like Boise State, and they were the first FBS school to start a varsity esports program, so they were the ones that got the ball rolling. Huge shout out to the Red Hawks because you could see where we've come from one team to now enough to field, I believe, a 32-team tournament in HUE Fest. So Miami of Ohio, the trendsetters, as they're going to hop right in. Plato dropping very, very low. Guac trying to do what he can with the Tesla cannon, going to jump out, still being trained down by Quinku and Hart. Now Hart dropping very, very low. Boise State right now trying to get a first elimination. Unfortunately, it will be Kel who is going to be blown out of the mech. Boise State, though, still holding on. Fozix has the EMP if he wants to use it. Jaber going to go down. 3-man EMP is going to land. Boise State's tanks both hacked. They're not going to be able to get away. Guac going to be the first one to go down. And unfortunately for Boise State, they're not only going to lose one, they'll lose both tanks. But for Miami of Ohio, the Red Hawks bleeding everywhere else. Both their tanks have gone down. Plato going to pick up another one, and this time Boise State, we can see Plato hunting down the last remaining member. CSAC goes down. They survive through a, I don't want to call it lackluster, but a low impact EMP.
Yeah, I won't lie, the engage that came after that EMP was lackluster, so to speak. There just wasn't a lot of follow-up, and that can be the downside to using an EMP so quickly. That was a rather quickly charged EMP for any Sombra player. I'm pretty sure no one was prepared to see it go from 0 to 100 that fast, but it was not an advantage for their team, and they lost it to be able to do the retake and to be able to sustain more on this point during the first fight on point B.
Boise State able to grab the first point. Broncos in red, Redhawks in blue. Boise State seeing if they can snowball here. Onto the second map on CP. We're going to see a large bagel. He's going to drop the sound barrier onto all 5 members. Goblin dropping low away from the fight. Fozik's going to be taking him out. Primal Rage going to be used by Hart. We'll see if Boise State can answer. There's Guac Primal Rage. There is a Death Blossom online for CGS. We'll see when he wants to use it. Right now the team not really getting any eliminations, but Kel is dropping low. Plato going to be the first one to use his Death Blossom. He'll pick up a kill before going down. CGS still holding on to his. Kel going to use the Diva Bomb as Boise State starting to bleed members with Guac and Plato going down. A large bagel potentially going to be the next one to follow, trying to sustain. Kel's mech going to be blown up. He's trying to hang on as the Baby Diva, but it looks like Boise State going to have to go for the disengage.
Yeah, and honestly, on that engage, Boise State, it was a little bit sloppy. There is not a lot of target focus. You saw them jump onto the same player all at the very beginning, but then after a couple of moments, someone didn't die. Everyone went off onto their own target, which is something that they need to rectify if they're really going to take this game. And you could also see Goblins once again back on the Widowmaker, which he's playing against not just a Sombra to sneak up on him, but also a Monkey and a Diva. So that's 3 out of 6 players on the enemy team who are going to be shutting down our Widow. I'm not sure if it's the best choice.
He's going to get a nice headshot mid-Death Blossom onto CGS. The EMP did come out, landed onto 4. Boise State only going to sustain 1 casualty for that. CSAC going to be using the Coalescence there. Once again, Goblin going to be introduced to, it looks like Quinku, and I think there was also a Sombra on him as well. Not able to disengage. We see Plato dropping very, very low. Boise State this time once again survives the EMP, but now starting to bleed members. And with just over 3.5 minutes left, the Broncos probably going to disengage as a couple more eliminations come out.
Yeah, and you can see that we've got Goblin swapping over to the Doomfist, which I'm not quite sure how that's going to go with the Sombra, who's going to be conveniently hacking him every time he jumps into the air. Boise State's really got to recenter their focus here and figure out what they're going to do, as we are playing a almost perfect mirror match going on right now. It is going to come down to, can they play together, and is our Lucio going to be able to avoid those hacks coming out from Sombra and able to back our team up when an EMP blast does come out? Is Boise State calculating the enemy team's ultimates correctly, or are they kind of more lax about hold tracking this game?
Goblin going to get hacked. He is going to drop a little bit low, but Asu able to sustain him for now. And now Boise State going to try and hop onto the point. Right now, a couple of ultimates up on each side. There is an EMP, but it doesn't matter. CGS going to get the first kill onto Plato. There's the EMP onto 4 members, but a large bagel doing a great job dodging it. Was able to get the sound barrier out. Unfortunately, it was not enough to keep Guac alive. Primal Rage going to be used by Hart. He is dropping down towards 50%, but Boise State losing members. Goblin going to be the next one to fall. Asu trying to do what he can on the Moira. Going to have to shift away, and Boise State once again, it's Ben Fozix on the Sombra, who has dictated a ton of fight victories. Kel going to get punched to death, and Boise State once again going to have to wait for the respawn.
Boise State is going to have to wait for respawns as they've got this Sombra on their backline getting a lot of ult charge off our teammates because we just are not spying her out quick enough and taking care of her. And we're also playing heroes that when played into Sombra are completely shut down. So Boise State might have to completely rethink their playstyle here, but they do only have 2, if not 3 fights, so they've got to get these fights started very fast.
Coalescence going to come out. Primal Rage going to be used by Guac. Diva Bomb going to pick up Asu. Boise State now without either of their supports. Plato did get a kill on the CGS, who had the Death Blossom available, and right now the Broncos just trying to sustain. Sound Barrier is going to be used by Jaybird, going to land on all 5 surviving members of the Redhawks. Now, unfortunately for Boise State, that's going to shut down a lot of the engaged. Goblin trying to do what he can. He will go down once again, and now Boise State getting closer and closer to last fight territory, and they're only going to have a pair of ultimates up for it.
With only a couple of ultimates and a Sombra also sitting on what is going to be another EMP for this fight, Boise State is really at a strong disadvantage here at 1 fight territory. If they get a single pick before they get the engage, that'll help them out a little bit, and if they can time the Diva Bomb and the Death Blossom perfectly, they have a chance to roll out to take point B.
There's a 4-man EMP this time from Fozix, and that's going to be paired with the Death Blossom, and you can just see the Boise State health bars evaporate before your eyes. 4 members have gone down, and now Boise State truly in last fight territory, as their 2 remaining members are going to have to suicide. Boise State now, they've got 2 ultimates to make this work.
Honestly, I think now would be the time that we drop the Doomfist and maybe switch over to a Tracer or something with just a little bit more self-sustain that can handle going up against that Sombra a lot faster and help scout out that Sombra, as she is the one that is instigating these deaths of our teammates. And Boise State is not wanting to look at that as being their main issue here, and instead they're kind of just running it down mid.
And Boise State thing about the Death Blossom, the Diva Bomb, and the Coalescence immediately used by Asu. Nice hack onto Plato. He still has the Death Blossom. We'll see if he can get it off. He's going to use it along with the Diva Bomb. Primal Rangers come out from Heart. Diva Bomb picks up one. Then the second one, at least onto the mech, and that's going to make Quinn Q go down very, very quickly. Here into overtime, Boise State trying to find a tick. They'll get a kill onto CGS. Goblin will have to trade for it. With the staggered kills, that means there can be some respawns coming out from the side of the Redhawks. Boise State has been able to grab 2 ticks. Heart and Jaybird are going to go down. You see a large bagel sitting on the sound barrier. C-Sax Coalescence immediately canceled on death. And there's the aggro sound barrier to try and keep Boise State alive and sustain them through this. Diva Bomb from Quinn Q going to come out, try and clear the point. It's not going to be enough. And Boise State right now, you can see how close they are. Jaybird going to try and drop a sound barrier. The EMP is online from Fozzix. If he can get in there and turn this fight around, Jaybird dropping very, very low. C-Sax, there it is, the 6-man EMP. Can Boise State survive? Looks like Plato's going to get 2 kills, and Boise State right now lasting through that EMP, trying to hold on. Staggered respawns have still allowed the Redhawks to continue stopping any full cap for Boise State. Death Blossom is going to be used once again a second time this fight, as well as the Diva Bomb. Each going to pick up their own elimination. Primal Rage going to be used, and now Boise State starting to get these eliminations that they need stacked on top of each other. There's the team kill, and Boise State in overtime just barely able to get the second point.
Just barely. I mean, it felt like the Redhawks were kind of in a bit of a frenzy themselves. Boise State was in a quite the frenzy as well. That last fight was sloppy on both sides. There was ultimates being held out longer than they needed to be, as well as not enough target focus coming out from the side of the Redhawks, as there was just too much in their face to start. So unfortunately, their slow pace that they have been used to was not so comfy this time, because Boise State just threw everything they had at them.
And I think if Fozzix had been a little bit less trigger happy on the EMP, of course I understand he's in overtime, he's trying to turn the fight. If he lands a 6-man EMP with his whole team alive, that's probably a one fight for the Redhawks and shutting Boise State down at 96%. That was not the case, so now Miami of Ohio knows they need to get 2 points to force them into overtime. Boise State not going to have much time remaining on the clocks. We'll see if the Redhawks can maybe have a little bit extra time, but right now Boise State gotta love the situation they're sitting in.
Yeah, you can see Boise State's pulling out their Ash Torpig again, which are more long-range DPS, so that gives our tanks the ability to dive in and dive out, with our supports focusing on mainly keeping the damage boost coming out on Plato, as well as keeping our tanks up when they dive in, with Goblin being mainly self-sustain, and Ohio not having a lot of dive to take out Goblin this time on Torbjorn, because they're dropping that Sombra in favor of a May. They might not do so well during this, and Boise State might see a full hold based off their comps alone.
We'll have to see how it plays out, as the Redhawks are going to hop right in. They're going to go full aggro. Maywall going to come up, and that's going to allow them to try and sneak around. You can see Guac has dealt with that one, and this is going to allow Plato with some excellent sight lines. Goblin's turret going to be the first unofficial elimination of the match. It looks like the Redhawks are trying to, you can see, hanging around in that building, but Boise State has full advantage and full knowledge of where they are. Dynamite going to be blocked by the Maywall. Nice ice barrier once again, this time just allowing Miami, Ohio to slowly work over towards the point. And now the Redhawks are going to go all in. C-Sack dropping very low. Quinn Q going to be forced out of the mech. Boise State now with a slight advantage. We'll see if they can punish the baby Diva. Right now the Goblin turret once again going to be taken out. Heart dropping very, very low with the Orb of Discord. Primal Rage already going to be used by Guac. Kel dropping very, very low. Quinn Q just going to go off the map. And Boise State is holding on very, very well here as the point is being contested. We're going to see a Coalescence come out, but downstream members, the Redhawks not going to get much. If on anything, Fozzix and Jaybird will go down, and Boise State with a great hold to start it off.
Yeah, you can see that Coalescence beam was not really sure if it was intended to try and sustain the team or take out other people, because Coalescence at this point in both these comps is really only useful to help keep your team alive, but when you're down 2 people, you're best hanging on to it.
No swaps so far coming out from Miami of Ohio, so they're confident that this sort of Maywall their way onto the point to block as much damage as possible was the right call. You see the Valkyrie is up, Molten Core available as well, Plato and a large bagel nearing it on their ultimates, and there's the Valkyrie and the Molten Core both going to be thrown at the Redhawks there. Bob going to join the fight as well. Plato dropping very, very low. CGS going to be the first one to fall though. A large bagel will go down, have the Transcendence online. Quinku going to lose the ult. Heart going to get knocked off the edge, and Boise State sustains sustaining some casualties as the Blizzard does come out, lands a 3-man freeze. Kel going to use the Diva Bomb, is going to take some pressure off those frozen members of Boise State. Jaybird dropping that sound barrier, and Boise State with an excellent start to this. Goblin will go down, but as Fozix falls, this looks like Miami of Ohio might be best to just sort of wait things out as the Resurrect comes out, as they're right now sort of being staggered coming back onto this point.
Boise State, I will not lie, did not look like they were completely ready for that Blizzard to come out, but they did handle it very well, and they survived surprisingly, and now you can see Ohio's dropping the Mei in favor of a Hanzo, which might help them out a little bit with regards to this diving that's happening on their back line and have a little bit more focused damage because they don't have a lot of forward damage as their comp was before.
I think Mythmaker put it right there, as you could see Boise State thriving in the chaos when it's a more drawn out and structured team fight. It really feels like the Redhawks have had the advantage. Unfortunately, they'll start this one down one. CSAC gonna get headshot out by Plato. Dynamite going to land, not gonna get anything of value for it. Looks like the Redhawks have full disengage, waiting for that Moira.
Yeah, but Boise State's also got 5 out of 6 of their ults sitting in the wings, as does Miami. So this is going to be a who's going to touch point first, pick the fight location, and play to play their ults to their advantage. And of course, yes, it's going to be who ults first. But as we see them losing out on a Hanzo early before the fight started, Miami might be out of luck here.
Yeah, Bob is available, waiting for the use. There we do see CSAC has used Coalescence, not enough to keep CGS alive. Transcendence and Valkyrie both going to be used there by Boise State. As we tick down under 30 seconds, Hack is going to come out onto Diva. Looks like the Diva Bomb came out as well, not going to have anything to show for it. Guac now going to throw down that Primal Rage, trying to just stagger the response of the Redhawks. We are under 20 seconds and no one really on the point. Plato finally going to be taken out, but Bob is able to join the fight, at least before he goes down. There's the elimination onto Hart. CGS has swapped over to the Widowmaker. Not quite sure that was the best bet, but he is able to take down a turret, so what do I know? It looks like Boise State right now trying to just body block Molten Core on the point to stop the Redhawks, and we now are into overtime. Jaybird going to be forced to use that sound barrier, only going to land onto 3 members, dropping very, very low. Kel going to drop the Diva Bomb as Fozix is the first one to fall. Boise State right now hasn't found a clear advantage. CGS dropping very, very low. Hart had to fly onto the point. He will be taken down. Boise State now sitting up 2, make that up 3 with Jaybird being taken down by Plato. And now the Redhawks unfortunately have to just throw themselves at the point, trying to get any sort of tick to keep this game alive. Unfortunately, now losing 4 members, they're not going to have anything, and Boise State going to take that one. They will even things up at 1 aside.
Yeah, so we've got 1-1, which, as I said earlier, is the equivalency of a 0-0 fight. Honestly, the Redhawks are right on the heels of Boise State. I feel like both these teams are very evenly matched. Redhawks and BSU have had ample amount of time as a team to get to know each other and play on their own. And now it's time to see if they've had enough time to overcome one another, so to speak, as we are kind of the big names within our conferences, respectfully. And I am just absolutely floored being able to watch these two teams actually go head-to-head in this tournament for once.
Yeah, both these teams currently sitting at 2-0 in the group of the HUE Fest Invitational. This is a rewind to look back at what the Overwatch team did. Weren't able to feature it on the stream as League was going at the same time. And Boise State and the Redhawks both just trying to find who is going to be the winner and who is going to be unfortunately forced at 2-1 when they advance into the round of 16. And right now the Broncos, that was a great answer back. Kings Row felt not as close as it ended up being. I know it was about 20 meters, but it really felt like the Redhawks were in control the whole time. And that time, even though it was just sort of pure chaos for Boise State, that was an excellent defensive hold to not even allow a tick for Miami of Ohio.
I think BSU really realized that if they are to overcome Ohio here, they needed to make the fights happen when Ohio was not prepared, and that was catching them in transition, because you saw more than once Ohio would rotate out of point of view of our players. They would regain all of their health, their cooldowns would be almost completely back, and Boise State would just let them be on their merry way. But when Boise State realized that they can't let them have that slow of a pace of a fight because it's too comfortable for Ohio, they really were able to capitalize on the slow pace that Ohio enjoys.
And as we go into the next map, the team's tied at 1 aside in the best of 5. No hero bans, and it looks like for Boise State, once again, they've got to be very, very aware of where Fozix and that Sombra are. He's had 5-man EMPs, he's had 6-man EMPs, and about 90% of the time, when he lands an EMP, it's a game, it's a winning fight for the side of Miami of Ohio.
Exactly, so Boise State's really got to be on top of tracking that EMP, scouting out and spying where that Sombra is at, and making sure that your Lucio is hiding and ready to come out and support your team, or in this case the Zen, if they are to get EMP, but that means your Zenyatta needs to be far enough away that he's not the target of the EMP.
And now the Red Hawks just sort of holding Boise State in the spawn, using the payload as a nice little line of sight. Dynamite hit from Plato, going to put some damage in on the back line. Hart dropping very, very low, and he'll be the first one to go down. Kel sustaining some damage, but so is Jaybird. Boise State trying to get their second elimination and open things up to start pushing. Right now, no one else has found much success. We do see a ton of damage. There it is. Plato going to get one onto CSAC. Jaybird dropping very low. Unfortunately, Quidku will get one onto Goblin, but now without any support and CGS going down, this should open things up for Boise State as they get a couple of more eliminations to be able to start pushing the payload.
Yeah, Miami did a very standard hold technique here on Havana Point 1, which is get on the payload and try to run out as much time as we can on this first fight, because by holding that payload at the spawn doors, you give your team the opportunity to have a whole extra fight before this payload will reach point A. However, I don't know if they're going to have enough time with how staggered out those spawns were to actually get 3 fights out of those, but more likely it'll be 2.
See if Boise State can wrap things up, at least on their way to their first payload here. As we see Bob's going to join the fight immediately. Primal Rage and Valkyrie both going to be used, but it's the first elimination onto a large bagel that Boise State has to deal with. CGS will go down, but Kel is going to be forced out of the mech. EMP is online for Fosix as a 5-man sound barrier comes down. Quick is going to drop the Diva Bomb. Isn't going to get onto anything as Boise State gets the resurrection onto a large bagel. Hart going to take down Plato, so now Boise State losing that front line damage. We can see Goblin on the Widowmaker hanging out in the back line. Infrared sight going to be dropped. So Boise State has at least somewhat of an advantage as a 2-man EMP. All that lands in Transcendence from a large bagel. Probably baited out there after the EMP as Boise State was not taking a ton of damage. Great job by the Red Hawks waiting that one out. CSAC going to use the Coalescence there. Not really going to have much coming from it as Guac is going to take down Quinco. Kel back in the mech, able to survive. Death Blossom is online now for CGS if he wants to drop it. Fosix gets another elimination on the large bagel. Hart, though, will be taken down as the teams continue to trade 1 for 1. Boise State's respawn's a little bit closer, should allow them to get back in the fight as they're back to full strength. As CGS now has gone down with the Death Blossom online. You can see he was trying to sneak up onto Widowmaker there and make something happen. Boise State now looks like they forced the Red Hawks to run tail and should be able to keep pushing. We'll see if the Red Hawks win a third fight.
Yeah, that fight went a little bit longer than I think Boise State really wanted it to go, because they gave the Red Hawks a lot of ultimate charge so that they could have the opportunity to retake this fight. But they are chilling out only halfway on that EMP because they used their first one a little too early. I think Boise State might be able to get a clean move in onto point A and lock down this first point, because it does not look like we're getting a complete engage here from Miami.
Goblin is going to be taken down. Hart going to go down on the side of the Red Hawks, but Fosix going to answer right back. Boise State now out of DPS players for the time being. Now there's the res on to Plato. The Primal Rage has been used by Guac. Infrared sight going to be used. CGS going to get taken down in the middle of Death Blossom with no value to show for it. EMP will land only onto 3 members, though. Kel going to drop very low, but it looks like Boise State once again should be able to survive. Diva Bomb is online. CSAC's going to use the Coalescence, trying to maintain the health bars of his team as Hart takes down Guac. There's the Diva Bomb coming out from Kel. He has eyes onto Quidku in the backline, not able to get anything as he will get hacked, dropping very, very low. Goblin going to pick up 2 members of the Red Hawks, and Boise State once again in a very long engage as we see CGS going to punch down Plato. Boise State now gets another resurrection off from Ace2 to keep them at full strength. Kel will fall, unfortunately, and the Broncos starting to run out of time. A great job by the Red Hawks to bleed all of that time out. Sound barrier going to be used by a large bagel, trying to sustain Boise State, but they're going to lose Guac. Kel has to rush back into the fight with the swap over the Wrecking Ball. No one on the point for the Broncos, and Boise State not going to get a single capture.
So, Boise State, we had a mistake there with some of our old usage. The Diva Bomb should not have been launched directly into the air because it's too predictable as to where it's going to land, and it gives the team enough time to predict who needs to stay on payload or if they need to have anybody on payload whatsoever. If you're planning on using your Diva Bomb either to remech or to zone, you need to be hucking it in the direction of the enemy team, not where you are at, because it's not using your bomb to your ultimate to the fullest of your advantage. Now, Boise State's at a slight disadvantage because they did not get point A like you brought up. Are they going to be able to hold this out completely? I don't know. We might have to see some really wonky strats coming out.
Man, really a great job by the Red Hawks to force that very awkward third fight where it felt like for a moment there they hadn't fully committed, but with Fosix still alive, he was able to build the EMP, got the 3-man EMP, and that sort of said for the Miami of Ohio, all right, let's go. So a great call by the Red Hawks there to say, hey, let's take a third fight, and it ended up working out with Boise State not able to get the first point.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested to see if Boise State's are going to try and do a very close hold. You can see they're going with what we would consider more their comfort picks. We have Plato on the Reaper and Goblin once again on that Torbjorn, but we see that Miami is also going with their comfort picks that have outplayed Boise State in the past, at least in the other maps, and I feel like they know that they can capitalize on this playstyle that they have, and Boise State's just not willing to answer it.
Looks like for now, Boise State going to go with a close hold. Good job by the Red Hawks to come around from the backside there, using that truck to line of sight. Some of the Broncos damage right now, though. Hart going to be dropping very, very low. You can see Fossick was able to get down a Torbjorn turret, so you know Boise State has to be wary of that Sombra once again. The Watt now is going to get hacked. He will drop low. Boise State not able to sustain him. Jaybird going to get the first elimination, and now Boise State without a frontline take has to be careful. Respawns are very, very far away from defense, and they've got to make sure they can get back in time, as they've now lost their third member. Make that forward walk now respawning. A large Bagel Trin Goblin trying to hold on, but the Red Hawks with a very, very clean win, and they might be able to stagger the respawns enough that Boise State not able to make it back in time for a second or third fight as a large Bagel and Goblin fully retreat.
Yeah, but at least the large Bagel and Goblin were actually to get out without having to create a longer stagger for their own team, so that does allow for a quick engage from Boise State side, and Boise State does have 3 ultimates coming on, as well as taking out that Sombra. They might be able to get a full flame on this payload and push back Miami.
Red Hawks also going to lose CGS, so both DPS players are down. Boise State now getting a little bit more confident, but you can see the Broncos don't want to bite off more than they can chew. They're just going to hang around the payload here. Let everyone respawn, and there's some very scary check marks on the side of both teams.
Yeah, that was a bit of a misplay from the DPS on both sides of Miami right there by playing too far forward away from their supports and not keeping in mind that Boise State can re-engage very fast with the Lucio.
Homecore is going to come out. Didn't get any official elimination as the teams trade 1-for-1 Heart for Goblin, but you can see just how close the respawn was. The Red Hawks now back at full strength. Goblin yet to join the playing field. Now Plato is going to go down. Boise State once again without any DPS. Hack is going to land onto Guac. Going to stop him from Primal Raging. Kel dropping very, very low. EMP going to land onto the 3 surviving members of Boise State. They'll both go down, and Boise State's got to hurry back.
Yeah, we've got Boise State, as you can see, we swapped. We have that Zarya coming out, and now we've got Goblin once again back on that Widowmaker, so we are losing all of our scouting ability out for that Sombra, and Boise State is just letting her harass them in the backline and get a bunch of charge before a fight even starts. Boise State really needs to take a look at their playstyle and look at the heroes they're playing and make some major swaps if they're going to come back from this.
Goblin, he at least had somewhat of a plan. Double headshot onto both supports for Miami of Ohio before CGS gets in his face, at least stopping the Red Hawks for now. Minute and a half left on the clock. Goblin now has respawned. CGS just about to come back alive. Boise State setting up for what is going to be the last fight. You can see they've got about 10 meters left. Well, they'll take this map. If the Red Hawks get any further or win a fight, it's going to be a win for them. Fozic has gone down, but he should be back in plenty of time for any final fight with just over a minute left. Ultimates on both sides, and then we're going to kick it off with the Primal Rage from Hart to heal back up to full health. Trying to swing around, Boise State smartly disengaging. Grab going to come out, going to be comboed with the Death Blossom from Plato. It is going to pick up 1 elimination. C-Tech going to use the Coalescence. AC using his as well to try and maintain the health bars. Fozic's just sitting there pushing the point, trying to get a teleport away now, but Boise State going to make the Red Hawks pay with a couple of eliminations. Can they get Jaybird and Fozic? No, they cannot, and we're in for the last fight.
You've got Kill sitting here on his comfort pick of Zarya. That Graviton Surge was a great play, but maybe the Zarya pick in the long run might not work in Boise State's favor. However, we do have a large Bagel and Guac chilling out on some major ultimates, as well as infrared sights, which if we can pop those before Sombra has a chance to really get in our backline, we can take down their entire strategy and their playmaker.
Oh, Goblin's going to take down Fozic, so Boise State off to a great start. Primal Rage and Infrared Sight being used. See if the Red Hawks can maybe bait a disengage here with 13 seconds left. You see the Sombra at 68%. Might be able to get an EMP in an extended engagement right now. Boise State doing their best to body block the point. 3 seconds left. Hart is going to go down. Diva Bomb going to be used. Quiku's going to pick up 2, and that might change the fight. Fozic picks up 1 onto Plato as well. The sound barrier from Jay was forced, and Boise State, unfortunately, the Diva Bomb changing everything. They will get a pick onto C-Sac. A large Bagel going to be forced forced to use a sound barrier, only going to land onto a couple of members as Boise State only has 6 meters to get. EMP completely whiffs from Bozic. Boise State might have gotten a little bit of a break, but unfortunately Death Blossom there from the Reaper is able to pick up one elimination. He'll pick up a pair afterwards. Quinku's going to take down Goblin. Plato trying to do what he can, but it looks like the point's going to be pushed, and the Diva Bomb from Quinku picks up a pair and allows the Red Hawks to win their second map.
That Diva Bomb placement, man, I'm telling you, it is everything. If you make it too predictable, it's just not going to work out. But in some cases, dropping it right on the payload without throwing it in the air is the best thing you could do. And that's how this Diva on the Red Hawk side has picked up more than one multi-kill from what I have seen. So maybe simpler is better. Just keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah, that was incredible. It really felt like Boise State had won the fight there, but Quinku with the desperation Diva Bomb just to try and get them onto the point picks up 2. So a really, really good job by Miami of Ohio to win that map against Boise State. I'll be curious to see where these teams go next, as these are 2 very evenly matched teams.
Yeah, and I did actually misanswer this question within the chat room. We're in a kind of a little bit of a special range within our tournament, as we are the top 2 teams within our division. After that first loss, we will still be moving forward, but our seeding placement may not be as kind to us as we had hoped, because we are down 2 maps currently.
Yeah, Boise State trying to find a way to win the #1 seed in their group, sitting at 2-0. Miami of Ohio, you can see why they are sitting at 2-0. Both teams with wins over Messiah and Texas. It is a best of 5, so the Red Hawks are on match point. We'll see how Boise State can hold on, because it feels like it has been a lot of back and forth, and Boise State's been really close, but it just feels like there's 1 or 2 plays made by the Red Hawks that have opened things up. This is the HUE Fest Rewind, taking a look back at how the Overwatch team did over the weekend. Boise State, as you mentioned, Nerdy Bird, already locked in to advance the the round of 16. It's really just going to come down to the seeding, and right now the Red Hawks trying to bump Boise State down to the #2 seed as we hop into our next match.
So we've got Boise State. Honestly, this is Lijiang Tower. We've seen them dominate on this map more than once, and not just during this tournament alone. And they have played around this exact comp coming out from Miami very well on this point, because they can take advantage of the sight lines that are available while they are holding point control. Boise State knows what they're doing, knows what's going to happen, and they are prepared for this fight. And I feel like it's going to go more in their favor this time.
Well, unfortunately for Boise State, the first fight not going to go in their favor, as a clean sheet right now for Miami of Ohio. They did get a res on to Fozix, but not much more than that. Boise State, unfortunately, going to lose everyone, but CGS will go down, and it looks like a cap point there for the side of Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, that was a great take from them, and of course the caster curse kicked in for me right as I was talking. I love that. But Boise State obviously has a great opportunity to retake, especially because they've already scouted out that Sombra so quickly, because her placement's getting a little sloppy as this fight has gone on longer and this game has gone on longer.
Boise State this time immediately answers back. 2 quick eliminations onto both supports for the Red Hawks. Quinku is going to pick up 1. CGS will pick up another one, but Boise State, as you can see, going to be able to capture the point, and you can probably already tell where this game is going. A lot of back and forth to start.
Yeah, but Boise State, honestly, I think they're realizing the longer the fight goes out, the more of an advantage Miami is going to have. Whereas if they can dive in quickly, pick a target fast, and take care of at least one person from Miami's side, they will win the fight much faster, and that's what they need to do because of the amount of sustain Ohio has.
HUE going to be the first one to go down there. 3-man EMP is going to land from Fozix, and Boise State's health bars, unfortunately, from there are going to fall. Plato and Guac going to go down. Teleports out of the mech, he will fall. Goblin trying to do his best point defense, but there's only so much he can do against a Reinhardt. Actually able to take down the Reinhardt, surprisingly. Maybe Miami of Ohio get a little lackadaisical, but the res comes out, and Boise State going to have to reset. But now we see the Broncos, the remaining members jumping in here. Res did go out onto Quinku, and Boise State hopping right back in. A large Bagel going to get anti. He is going to be the first one to fall. Coalesces in Primal Rage going to be used. Nearly knocking a couple members off. Finally able to get a pick on the Jaybird, and Boise State hopping right back onto that point. They will lose the mech and Kel in the process. Quinku is going to fall down to Asu. The team's trading back and forth, but the longer the engage goes, the higher the percent is going to go up for Miami of Ohio. Hart is going to be taken down by Goblin. Boise State still has not been able to start capping the point, and unfortunately Guac booped off the edge. What a play by Jaybird, and that might turn things around when you thought Boise had the advantage. Bozic picks up one of the Goblin, and it's still the point ticking now up above 75% for the side of Miami of Ohio, or excuse me, for Boise State, as the Red Hawks right now really struggling to find any footing.
Yeah, Boise State's been able to maintain this fight. They did a great job coming in and out of the point during this last engage to make sure that their health bars did not drop too low, and now it's just a matter of time because we are in last point territory. If they can capitalize on the ultimate that they have in their pocket, Boise State could have this map on lock.
Yeah, Boise State doing a great job. Does look like someone from Miami of Ohio had hopped onto the point, but right now for Boise State, you can see the number of eliminated members here into overtime. Boise State should be able to finish this one off. Just one member sitting on the point for the Redhawks, trying to bleed out the time, and it's long enough for Hart to get there and eliminate Guac. The Redhawks holding on. There's the Diva Bomb to try and zone people out. Not going to be able to land onto anyone. Overtime being held on there. Molten Core going to be used by Goblin. A little bit on the point there, just trying to put some damage onto the Redhawks. He is dropping extremely low, but enough body blocking went on. Boise State able to pick up that one and give themselves a slight advantage.
So I did talk to the boys a little bit prior to us starting this broadcast, and there was a mention of a lot of body blocking happening during one of these games so that they could maintain point control, and now I'm definitely realizing, yeah, there was more body blocking happening during those last few seconds than there was actual ability usage. So that was the epitome of I put my body on the point.
Boise State, though, with a great advantage here, up 1-0 here, and you do see Fozix, at least for now, maybe contemplating the Symmetra, which is an interesting choice. You usually see it on the map before one, where we just saw it, so it's interesting to see he's bringing it out here.
It might just be a quick change in order to get the team teleported out the front door, but we'll have to see when they actually engage on point. I've not honestly seen a Symmetra work out in the favor of either team when it comes to using one on Control Center.
The fight is going to start. Jaybird going to be the first one taken down. CGS, though, going to pick one up onto Goblin. Boise State now going to lose Guac as well. You can see Asu dropping very, very low. And if Miami of Ohio can win this fight, that's going to allow Fozix to set up his symmetric turret wherever he wants. Team's going to trade back and forth. CGS for Asu. Goblin trying to get back onto the point. It has opened up. Fozix now going to get a kill onto Cal and onto a large bagel. Boise State going to be forced to disengage here. Point, Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, and Miami is now going to be able to push up and hold BSU at the spawn doors. However, BSU does have a slight advantage with the amount of damage they have coming out from both Plato and Goblin up front, and they're playing with Guac and Kel on Zarya and Reinhardt. They have the opportunity to create a huge death ball and snowball onto the point here.
Photon Barrier going to be used by Fozix. Right now, neither team really losing any sort of health. C-Stack has dropped a tad low, but he's going to be able to get all of that back. A large bagel now in the back line. He's going to speed up the rest of Boise State to go all in after the Photon Barrier falls. Sentry turret's being taken down, but right now Boise State has one elimination on the Fozix, but they have to trade it for Goblin. Both teams now down as DPS. Coalescence is going to be used by C-Stack there, but it's not going to pick up much of anything. CGS now dropping very, very low. Boise State just maintaining their health bar sitting on Control Center, but the Redhawks now getting up above 50% in terms of point control. Boise State now, you can see the health bars dropping a little bit low. Riptire going to be immediately used by Plato, and we see it's like it's going to be immediately taken out. Good job by CGS, able to pick up that one. Guac going to get a kill, but CGS will trade one onto Hart. Goblin will pick up Quinku, and now Boise State, right when you thought they had the advantage, a large bagel will go down. CGS does fall to Asu as the teams continue to trade back and forth, 1-for-1. Finally, Boise State able to cap the point and force disengage from the Redhawks.
This is a huge point for Boise State to, we can see either a make or break moment here coming from them, because if they do not reset properly and make sure that they are up and ready for this next fight, they can be really at a huge disadvantage. And we see that this Coalescence is going on this Graviton Surge, and we're using multiple cores. That is 3 ultimates and a bit overused from Boise State, and that could be to their disadvantage during this next engage, as they're dropping a lot of powerful retake and resustain ultimates from their side.
Yeah, Boise State dropping all 5 available ultimates on that fight, and they got a couple of eliminations and a sound barrier to show for it. Meanwhile, for the Redhawks, you can see they now have their own grab as well as the Death Blossom Photon Barrier and the Coalescence. Photon Barrier is going to be used to start the fight. Grab is going to come out, plus the Death Blossom. 3 Broncos immediately going to fall over. Kel barely surviving. He is not going to go down quite yet. Goblin is going to face death as well as his turret. A double boom off the edge for Jaybird, and Boise State loses all of their members. Redhawks get the point back.
Yeah, the Redhawks got the point back, but one thing I will point out is they used 5 ultimates, every ult that they had in their back pocket in order to take that fight back, so they have nothing other than their Shatter, and they have to pray that Guac is not going to be in the head of their Reinhardt during this next fight.
Plato trying to use the Riptire once again. He will pay for it. CGS is going to go down, but Guac will fall as well. Finally, Boise State able to take out those sentry turrets, and now the Broncos got to regroup. We're in last fight territory here.
Yeah, this is honestly turning into a nail-biter moment for BSU. Are they going to be able to calm their heads a little bit, so to speak, and actually play through on this point? They have the advantage with their ultimates as it stands now, so long as they can focus one target.
Into overtime there, Jaybird forced to use the sound barrier, going to land that shield onto 5 members. Shields now has faded. Coalesce is going to be used by CSAC. Shatter was used by Guac, but to no avail. Quinku is going to get stunned, but Guac's going to be the first one eliminated in the fight. Photon barrier is going to come down from Bozic. Molten Core from Goblin immediately used, and there's a grab as well from Kelp. The shield has held from Quinku, finally able to get away. Boise State not able to get an elimination to show for it. Finally, Kel's able to get one onto CGS, but not before members of the Boise State Broncos do go down. We see Goblin trying to hold on. Can Guac out on the point? No, he cannot, but I don't think he would have been able to do much. And the Red Hawk going to force us to a third map.
So overall, that was a great map, both sides, with Boise State unfortunately just did not use their ultimates to the best of their abilities. They can track and use their ultimates much better together, and they need to be focusing on how they complement one another rather than how many kills they can try and get.
Head on to the last map here. Miami of Ohio takes this one. They will go to 3-0 in the group. Boise State will fall down to 2-1, but both teams will advance. Boise State able to pick it up. They are going to force us on to a game 5. Bozic's back on the Sombra, but CGS picking up the Symmetra. Meanwhile, the Pharmacy for Boise State going to be an interesting battle here, because right now that Pharmacy, if they play it right, going to be immune to any EMP.
So we've got that also going for the counter of the EMP, as well as Kel going on the Diva pick, and as well as Plato pulling out the Tracer. And Plato is truly a beast and a force to be reckoned with on Tracer. He knows what he is doing, and you better not mess with him. He will one-clip you if you try to one-on-one him. So with all of that in mind, Boise State has set them up for a great advantage playing into what we would consider Miami's playmaker here on their Sombra.
Boise State was forced to disengage. Hack is going to land on Guac. He has to find a way out, not able to leap away, and CGS going to get the first elimination as the point unlocks. A large bagel going to get booped off, or going to get knocked off the edge by the Rockets from Quinku, and Boise State now down 2, make that down 3. Probably going to disengage, and the Red Hawks off to a great start here.
So the Red Hawks, unfortunately, were the ones that I can say hit the gas pedal to the floor during that fight and were really in the face of BSU. And so they have obviously done a 180 with their playstyle of taking things slow and are now throwing exactly what Boise State had right back into BSU's spaces. So BSU's just got to up their game and be as aggressive and quick with their plays and their decisions as they can be. There is no room for indecisiveness if they are going to win this fight.
Miami of Ohio up to 30%. Then we see the Pulse Bomb is online for Plato. He's going to drop it out there. Coalesce is going to be used by CSAC. No elimination on either side. Hack is going to go on to Large Bagel. Once again, he's going to get knocked off the edge. Boise State now, see, Goblin is on the back line, but he's only at 30% on the ultimate. He's just trying to build some percentage up right now. EMP is online for Bozic. Boise State has to be very careful. They've gotten off the Pharah, so they have no way to dodge it, but right now it doesn't matter. 3 eliminations going to go out. Goblin just trying to hang on with the little passive lifesteal he has, gets punched down, and Boise State going to have to smartly disengage and swap over to the Duke pit.
Alright, so we've got Boise State now chilling out here with Miami having over 60% on the point, and Miami also has 5 out of 6 ultimates chilling in their back pocket. Boise State, on the other hand, only has 3. But if Guac can actually goad this other team into the right point, along with the help of Kel, they can possibly knock off plenty of members of the other team with only using 2 ults.
Diva Bomb came out, tried to pair with the EMP, but the EMP only lands onto a large bagel. Jaybird going to drop the sound barrier as well. Is going to land onto 4 members. Coalescence and Primal Rage used by Boise State. Unfortunately, Guac getting hacked, not able to make it out alive. CGS is going to be taken down. Hart going to fall off the edge, and Boise State might find themselves in an advantageous spot, and they need to get this point. It's already at 94%. Coalescence is going to come out, answered by the sound barrier from a large bagel to help sustain. Some respawns coming out from both sides. Death Blossom only good enough to get Quinku in the mech, but Quinku will fall right afterwards. There's CGS, Death Blossom, not going to be able to pick up anyone. Boise State starting to rack up the eliminations now as CSEC and CGS go down. Overtime here, Boise State cannot afford to lose this fight. They need to be able to get this point back. As you can see right now, the members of Miami of Ohio throwing themselves at the point, and finally, Boise State gets it, but they've got to be careful.
Boise State really does have to be careful as they do not have any ultimates in their back pockets, but ASU does have Coalescence coming online. However, we see Ohio has that fight-flipping ultimate in the form of the EMP blast on their side, while Boise State does not have a large bagel ult to help counter that, and that could be very bad as we see a 4-man EMP come out onto the side of BSU.
BSU immediately losing 3 members. Ace are going to try and use the Coalescence to sustain the Bronco health bar. Does get elimination onto Jaybird in the process, and then immediately falls over as well as Goblin. Kel going to go down, and this should do it for Boise State. Cap going to go over to the side of the Redhawks. The Broncos going to throw their members that did die early in the fight onto the point. CSAC going to use his own Coalescence. Quickly going to throw out the Diva Bomb there to try and zone Boise State. Guac unfortunately will pay, and now that Boise State out of respawns, they're just able to barely get onto the point. But right now the Broncos respawns are so staggered that it's 3 members at a time. Kel trying to do what he can, flying up in the air. He is going to be taken very, very low. Going to be immediately blown down. Plato going to try and jump in with the Meteor Strike. Not able to get anyone. Nice boop off the edge onto a large bagel, and it looks like Boise State now starting to realize that staggering the health bar is not the best bet. Well, Primal Rage came out, but it is going to be Miami of Ohio picking up the cap there, and they are going to win this series 3-1.
Congratulations, Miami. You guys played great. That was awesome to watch, and thank you, honestly, for giving a butt kicking to my team, because as always, you learn the most from a game you do not win. At least that's my opinion.
Well, Boise State going to finish group play at 2-1. That was still good enough, though, to advance to the round of 16 for the Broncos in HUE Fest. Of course, taking a rewind back to the weekend, see how the Overwatch team did. And they're going to draw a very familiar foe and a very, very strong esports program. It is going to be Boise State taking on the University of Utah in the round of 16. So the Boise State Broncos, unfortunately, the work not cut out for them there. They're going to go right off against Miami of Ohio and take on the University of Utah. So Boise State, now we're into a single elimination. They've got to be wary because the Utes are a very strong program, and to my knowledge, I'm not sure if Boise State has ever actually defeated the Utes. I know they've faced them quite a few times, but the Utes are a very, they're almost a storied esports program at this point.
They are a force to be reckoned with, and they are our largest rival. I will not lie. I have definitely banged my fist on a keyboard more than once while I played against them in the last couple of years, but it is truly an honor to be able to play with them because it just goes to show the level of gameplay that we are expecting all collegiate esports to eventually be reaching, and it's just a goal for us to hit, honestly, as a team and as an esports program altogether. We do know that they are very well practiced. This team practices a lot on their own time as well as together, and they have known each members as a team as a whole for an extended period of time, and not everyone on this team is a freshman, so they are very experienced. I'm also very excited to see how our boys fare against them, as this is the first time this new fresh team, so to speak, will be playing against them.
Yeah, it is going to be go ahead.
So this is the University of the Utes. We have played them more than once. I apologize for the delay. Okay, so I'm very excited to watch this go down because obviously this is a team that is a force to be reckoned with for Boise State. We have not won against them one time, and every time that we play against them, there's always more we can learn from them. This is a group that is experienced not only in their own downtime, but as a group altogether. They are a team that could represent not just an esports school, but esports from the collegiate level against pros, in my opinion. And so I'm very excited to get the opportunity to watch our new team, this squad from BSU, play against Utah State.
It's going to be Boise State taking on Utah, not the Utah State. The Aggies, a different program. They're still a very force to be reckoned with. But right now, Boise State and the Utes going to match up here. Taking on in the first map. Looks like Boise State does have the Widowmaker coming out here for Goblin right now. Hasn't been able to find any sort of pick. As we see, looks like there is another Sombra on the side of Utah. So the Broncos have to be very, very aware of where Koblard is at all times because he is going to potentially land some huge EMPs. We saw it versus the Red Hawks. Hack going to land onto Guac right now. Finally, eliminations, a boot off the edge. Hollow going to get one onto Plato. The point has unlocked. The Utes hopping on it in just a brief moment here. Boise State tried to backcap it there. Andy going to be taken down there by Goblin, and now Boise State going to go all in. Ace going to use the Coalescence to try and maintain some Boise State health bars that were dropping very low. Cool ABC is going to go down, but Boise State will have to trade. That is Dog21. Hopped in on the back line and took down Goblin. Kel now going to get Flame Turtle as both teams have brought out the Diva Monkey comp. Probably the first time tonight I think we've actually seen the mirror tank matchup on both sides. Kel going to take down Hollow, and Boise State trying to get back on the point. The Utes are already up to 20%, and the longer and longer they hold, finally it goes over, and Boise State gets the point.
Yeah, we can see that Utah State obviously dragged out that fight quite a bit, but they were not intentionally using a lot of their abilities because they were sneakily trying to charge up their ults. Yes, Boise State was as well, but as you can see, Boise State already used our Coalescence while the enemy team has Coalescence online, and the only one they're waiting on really is going to be their Primal Rage. Now, Cool ABC is honestly a force to be reckoned with. This is his 3rd year, if not longer, since club team on the side of Utah. He honestly, we've seen him a lot on Doomfist and Genji, and now I'm excited to watch him on Reaper.
Double sound barrier came out in that fight. Neither side sustaining any serious casualties. You can see Goblin in the backline. He's trying to land a headshot onto somebody. Cool ABC gonna throw down the Death Blossom in a combination with the Diva Bomb, and Dog 21's gonna pick up 1 elimination. Finally, Goblin gonna answer back with 1 onto Cool ABC, but Boise State's health bars are running very, very dry. He's gonna get taken out, and the Broncos gonna be forced to disengage as the Utes now cap the point back.
So Boise State has got a slight percentage advantage on this fight. However, Utah is only chilling out with 1 ultimate while Boise State has 2. If they can stagger out these ults and get a pick early, their opportunity to take the point and hold it up until possibly the round of 80 percentile is very viable right now.
Hack did land onto a large bagel right now. Neither team dropping any members, but the Boise State health bars are dropping incredibly low. Coalescence is going to be forced out there by Asu. He will be hacked during it. Plato dropped the Death Blossom as well and wasn't able to find anything. Primal Rage came out from Flame Turtle, and he's going to pick up 2. Cool ABC is going to get 1 onto Guac as well. Large bagel trying to do what he can. He will go down, and Boise State near team kill. Goblin going to swap over now to the Torbjorn. Probably a swap he should have made a little bit earlier.
I don't know if Torbjorn's honestly the pick. I feel like maybe it's about time one of our boys starts flexing out on the Sombra and getting comfortable in their own time playing that, because they need to start countering the Sombra on the enemy team more than they have been, and it's just something that they need to focus a bit more on. It is their downfall and the one mistake that I see reoccurring.
You see, there is the EMP for Kublart online. He is going to have the advantage here if Boise State cannot find him out. EMP, though, going to completely whip from the Utes, and can Boise State make him pay? Coalescence came out from Andy as well. Boise State, unfortunately, has no ultimates to answer. Nice job taking out the translocator there by Goblin. Going to give himself away just a little bit, but he should be able to get back to the team. He is in on the back line, trying to drop that Sombra extremely low. Cool ABC going to drop down the Death Blossom. Sound barrier used as well by Hollow, and the Utes are going to go up 1 as we're in overtime. Boise State not getting on the point. Finally, at the last second, somebody does, but at the cost of a double kill from the Diva Bomb. Now Goblin's going to try and jump on here. You can see the Boise State health bars dropping very, very low. Plato will see if he can make it back to the point, trying to do all he can, but he's not going to get there. The Utes going to be victorious here on map number 1.
So you mentioned this earlier, Fish, how this was like the most we have seen a mirror match on both sides in this tournament thus far, and that is because this is basically the meta that you see right here coming out from the side of Utah. Boise State is changing it up by pulling out this Widowmaker slash Torbjorn play, which actually drastically changes the play style that our teammates are supposed to have. But if you do not call out these changes and adjust and make your teammates aware that they need to adjust their tempo and pace, it can really be a hard point to play around for Boise State. And you can see now that they're even going away from that strategy and they're pulling out a Hanzo and a Doomfist, and actually it looks like they're staying with the Reaper, but they have a Doomfist, and Kel is going back onto the Zarya this time.
Doomfist Reaper there for Boise State. We did have a brief Symmetra there, probably just used the teleport to get Utah into the fight. Cobbler going to go right back onto that Sombra, see if he can land a bigger EMP than he did last time, but Boise State was not victorious, unfortunately. Plato dropping very, very low. He's going to be able to retreat back to his team, but right now the Doomfist cannot make any plays on the Utes backline. Goblin is going to get hacked. He will be able to survive, and Boise State right now just surviving the damage they're taking, but you can see the ult advantage building up for the side of Utah, except for Ace, who has the Coalescence online from all the healing he had to do, and he's immediately going to pop it. Boise State going to try and follow up. Cobbler going to be the first one taken down by Plato, hunting down that Sombra. Now Guac going to jump in without fear of being hacked, and Cool ABC the second elimination for Boise State, but with the point unlocking, looks like Boise State has sent one member down to grab it while the rest of the members try and finish up the fight, and Boise State going to start off with a nice little victory there as they try and finish up the remaining members of the Utes.
That is fantastic, and Boise State really needs to make sure that they regroup right here and hold this choke point well, as they did split up to allow for that capping of the point. Are they going to be able to use their ultimates proactively here to maintain that control?
Looked like a triple kill is going to come out. The 3-man EMP landing as well from Coblard, and that immediately turned it for Boise State. Now they're trying to run away from the Utes. Asu trying to do what he can, not able to quite get the elimination onto the Sombra, going to get gunned down, and now Boise State with a very quick reset, but they're staring at 3 ultimates up for the Utes.
Unfortunately, Boise State is just, their comp as a whole is much slower than that of Utah, and so that Utah has an insane advantage with how much speed they have coming out to just ram straight into Boise State with all 4-4s and disengage and re-engage when they lose a player here and there, while Boise State does not have that advantage with how slow their DPS is.
Three-man Death Blossom going to come out from Cool ABC. He'll pick up a 4th as well. Looks like Boise State going to lose a 5th. Now the Broncos going to have to retreat, but good job of a dry fight there, getting at least one ultimate out of the way from the Utes, and you can see Boise State staring at 5. Point only at about 40%, so Boise State, so they do have some time, but they can't afford to lose another fight here in their own spawn. HUE trying to keep the team alive here. Does look like they're going to potentially hop in on to the Utes now. Dog21 going to use Diva Bomb, so Boise State's going to have to be forced to full engage. Death Blossom going to pick up 2 from Goblin. Andy's Coalescence not going to be enough. Flame Turtle has popped a Primal Rage. Finally, Cobbler going to get one on the board for the Utes, but it might not be enough as Boise State has picked up 3 eliminations. Flame Turtle going to make it 4, and now the Broncos hopping on the point. They're going to get it back.
Boise State honestly was able to separate Utah during that fight, and that's how they were able to take advantage and actually knock out their players. But as you can see, there was a lot of split target focus from BSU's side, which is going to not play into their favor in this next fight if they keep that playstyle up. They need to be targeting the same people at the same time.
Did lose HUE. Looked like for a second there, Boise State had almost a couple of picks. 3-man EMP is going to land from Cobblar. Sound barrier from a large bagel, though, was able to keep everyone on Boise State alive. Good job dodging that. Plato and Dog21 going to exchange lives there. Now the sound barrier from Hollow is going to mean Boise State Utah can start pushing forward. Cool ABC does have the Death Blossom online, so the Broncos have to be very wary of it. There it's going to come out and at least completely whip. Not even an assist. Andy, though, and Cobblar are going to pick up 2 members of Boise State. Right now the Broncos just trying to hold on to the point. Both sides at 60% aside, but with Kel and Guac and Plato all going down, the Broncos probably going to be forced here to go fall back.
Honestly, though, as you can see, this re-engage, Boise State's got an advantage in the ultimate economy alone. You can see only Andy on Moira has ultimate ready to go, whereas Asu's almost got ult. Kel has the Graviton Surge. We have Meteor Strike as well as Death Blossom coming out, rolling from the side of BSU. If they can stagger these ultimates at the right times and engage with enough aggression, they can hold this point out to the 99% mark.
Both Coalescence going to come out. Death Blossom will pick up 1. Flame Turtle going to fall as well. Meteor Strike being committed by the side of Boise State, but they're already up 3. Make that 4, now make it 5. Boise State going to get the point right back.
Boise State got the point right back, but at what cost? They now only have their 2 tank ults because they used both their DPS ult and a support ult during that last fight, when honestly they could have done with 1 DPS ult. That might be not playing in their favor this next fight.
Grab is going to be used by Kel. Dog21 going to throw in the Diva Bomb plus an EMP. Just going to land on the 2 members, though. Kel, unfortunately, is going to go down. Cool ABC going to get an elimination on the Goblin as well. Guac trying to hold the front line as well as he can for Boise State. Him and Flame Turtle both going to use the Primal Rage. And a nice Meteor Strike from Plato is going to pick up 2. And Boise State has to be feeling confident as their respawns have come in. We are in overtime. The Broncos currently holding the point, but they are going to lose Guac. Utah has to win this fight as Andy's going to use the Coalescence. Cobblar's going to pick up a 2nd. A large bagel will be able to trade 1 out, and Boise State is doing a really, really good job holding on into overtime, and large bagel will unfortunately fall. There's the Death Blossom from Cool ABC. He's able to pick up 1 onto Goblin as both teams are getting the respawns. Hollow's now going to drop his sound barrier for the Utes. Unfortunately, Kel's going to get forced out of the mech, and this looks like for Boise State, the point's going to flip over and the Utes take control.
During that stagger on the point, Boise State was losing their target focus. You need to be calling out when you're throwing your body on that point, you're doing damage on someone, call that someone you hit because they are the next target for your next teammate.
Now we're into overtime, this time on the Boise State side. We'll see if the Broncos can hold on. EMP is going to land just onto 2 members, however, so Boise State is able to hold on. Asu going to use the Coalescence. Goblin going to drop the Death Blossom. He's able to take out 1. Dog21 is going to use the Diva Bomb, and it picks up Goblin to even things out. Kel also going to lose the mech. Plato immediately going to commit the Meteor Strike as Asu does go down. He doesn't get an elimination, unfortunately, and a large bagel will fall. Cool ABC going to be taken down by Kel, who also goes down to Flame Turtle, and now the Utes able to get that point, and they will go up now 1-0 on Boise State.
I will not lie, Busan is a love-hate relationship for the BSU squad because it feels like every other tournament says that we have to have Busan as the first map, so it kind of leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth when you typically see yourself getting steamrolled one way or another. So I don't think anybody really has a warm, fuzzy place with that map.
So we'll just have to see if Boise State does a little bit better on this next one. But Utah, that was a fabulous game to watch. I was really happy to be able to watch cool ABC play again. And I'm excited to see all their new freshmen that they have on the squad and how well they are performing together as they have so many new fresh faces.
Yeah, Boise State here down 1-0 here in the round of 16 of HUE Fest. A rewind back to see how they did. The League of Legends team fell in the round of 16 as well. So both teams making it out of the group stage here as we get to Doc's keys to the game. Focus the same targets, play to your win condition. First elimination wins the fight and never take a fair fight. All brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables personalized customer experiences for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers thanks to their award-winning AI. Analyzing 32 billion annual interactions. You're going to know you're safe online with Count. If you want more information, go check them out. Count.com with a K, KOUNT.com.
I'm just going to do a mini happy dance in my chair because Doc's keys were very similar to what I was talking about. So that's progress on my side for really analyzing gameplay, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you and Doc are on the same page, that is a good thing. Now, the question is the Boise State team on that page, and can they improve after the Utes took the first map there? Heading on to the next one, it is a best of 5. Boise State, plenty of time to answer back, but the Utes, as we've talked about, a historical rival for Boise State. We have not won a match against them in Overwatch, so there's a lot of history on the Utes side. We'll see if Boise State, with their fresh faces, let alone the Utes' fresh faces, can change history.
Yeah, it's all going to be really relying on those callouts and trusting your teammates and playing around the meta and play style that you guys are familiar with. So hopefully Boise State plays more into their strengths and as a team together because they can make some magic happen. I've seen it before.
We do head into map 2, see if Boise State, as Nerdy Bird mentioned, can make some magic happen here, try and advance down into the round of 8 in HUE Fest, as we mentioned, took place over the weekend. But we want to give a quick rewind, give the Overwatch boys their shout out, their time to shine on the stream. And they did a really good job, 2-1 in the group stage, only dropping a game to Miami of Ohio, who, as we talked about, one of the first esports programs around. So they've had a little bit of history on Boise State, even though Boise State was early in the game. And now taking on the Utes, a rival, a team Boise State has seen a lot of, a team Boise State has unfortunately never found a victory against, and they were really close. I mean, a 99 to 99% battle there. Utes just barely coming out victorious on the second map. So I think Boise State might be in here for a 5-game series or so.
Honestly, I personally would love to see a 5-game series because when you kind of hit that exhaustion point with both teams and you see more of the mistakes, I think it speaks more to the ability of the team to play as a team the longer they're stuck playing and the more tired they get because you have to rely on each other more to consistently be playing together and as a whole, and it becomes less so self-orientated once you've really gone hours into playing this game.
We hop in onto the second map, Boise State and Utah here. We'll see what the Broncos want to do. Looks like, at least for now, an early Bastion hover, but it doesn't look like. We'll see if Boise State wants to stick on it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
See if the Utes are able to hold Boise State. We've seen a lot of teams holding teams in the spawn here. Right now, Goblin went to the turret for him. He immediately is going to be taken out. So Boise State without a DPS, they're probably going to have to retreat. You can see Guac dropping very, very low as well. So Boise State right now has to watch out. I don't know if that Bastion pick, probably the best one until they get the payload moving.
Honestly, Fish, I'm going to agree with you here. Seeing a Bastion come out before he can really have a foothold on the payload is a bit strange from Boise State's side, and you can see that Utah is just going to monopolize on the fact that they have one less DPS to move around, have to play around and just get right in the face of BSU. But Goblin is going to sneak around and pick up 2 kills. And 3, wow.
And he's going to make us eat our words right there. He's going to add a couple of eliminations, make that 4 now on the side of Goblin. Just took a little bit to get going there, and now that Bastion can safely, well, actually, no, he's not going to assume his point on the payload. He's going to try and sneak around there. You see he's very close to the tank form, so that's something Utah has to watch out for.
The true Bastion players will tell you the spot to play is not on the payload. That is all I have to say about that.
You know, I'm just so used to the pirate ship that we saw all last semester of just riding the Bastion towards victory. That's what I'm used to. As we see the tank form come out, Coalescence is going to be used as well. Hollow has the sound barrier, but right now, for all those ultimates, not a lot of damage coming out. Finally, Hollow going to be using the sound barrier there just to keep Dog 21 alive. Couple of ultimates up for the side of the Utes now. There's the Death Blossom from Cool ABC as well as the Diva Bomb. All the show for it is going to be Goblin and Plato. So now Boise State, without either of their DPS members going to have to be very, very careful. Charge in from Guac, not going to land. It looks like Boise State probably going to be forced to retreat back to the spawn. Is now Goblin going to swap over to that Widowmaker.
Boise State, their supports and their tank line need to be communicating a little bit more within regards to using that coalescence, because there isn't so much damage. It is more to give the opportunity for your tanks and DPS to push in through the coalescence, because they need that added damage to get those extra picks. So that honestly comes down to, are you holding on to Amp and waiting for your Moira to use coalescence and communicating that, and is your tank or a DPS going in with that coalescence?
Four-man EMP did land onto Boise State. They'll lose 2 members. Goblin was able to get a pick onto Andy, and then you can see everyone on the Utes going to run right over to him, and they're going to eliminate him. Minute 30 left for Boise State, and once again, it feels like this Widow comfort pick has not been working out for Goblin. He gets an elimination here or there, but he kind of has been run down by Dog21, and that time Cool ABC. Boise State, though, this time they're going to start the fight off without the Widowmaker. They're going to get an elimination onto Flame Turtle. They're going to get out the coalescence from Andy. Ace2 going to be forced to use his as well. Shatter is online for Flame Turtle if he wants to use it. Cool ABC going to be taken down before he can Death Blossom, and with the grab online, Boise State might have an advantage here. Dog21 forced out of the mech and immediately take it down, and the Broncos now getting very close to that first point.
So here's where we get to that point where I mentioned earlier that Boise State doesn't really know who's supposed to be sitting on payload and who's not supposed to be, because here's an opportunity for them to take space while maintaining a presence on the payload, but they have both their supports pulled back on payload, which was not smart for their tanks.
Grab going to come out, and Boise State going to get a bunch of eliminations. Unfortunately, no one accounted for the Reaper. Cool ABC picks up 3 with the Death Blossom before he's eliminated by the Shatter, and Boise State, what looked like a clean fight win, evolves into a very messy one, but they're still going to get the first point regardless.
They did get that first point with just under 30 seconds on the clock, so now they have just under 3 minutes to push this into the next point. You can see Kel's getting very aggressive on that Zarya, pushing up quite far forward by himself, but backs up quickly. And now we do have 2 ultimates on the side of Boise State, but Utah does as well, and those ultimates counter each other, so I'm very interested to see who ults first, and it's going to be Sombra.
Sombra able to get the 4-man EMP. Plato tries to answer back with the Death Blossom, just takes out Cobbler. Goblin going to get a pick onto Hollow as well, but Boise State right now not able to get much more forward momentum. Large Bagel going to be forced to use the Sound Bear. Coalescence is going to come out from Andy, and now that the shield phase, Boise State doesn't really have a way to go in. You can see the Guac shield very low as well. Finally going to allow that one to recharge. Boise State slowly pushing the payload forward. There comes the infrared sight from Goblin, going to give away the position of the side of Utah. Not going to matter though. Dog21 going to get in his face in the back line. Hollow going to use that full 6-man Sound Barrier to try and keep his team alive. Boise State now, Plato dropping very low. He's going to be forced back, and no one really close to an ultimate on the side of Boise State. Kel up in the 90s. Is he going to use the grab, or does he want to hold it for someone else on Boise State to combo with? Cool ABC is going to go down. Goblin has swapped over to the Doomfist. Diva Bomb going to pick up 1 from Dog21. And right now Boise State has Doomfist on the back line. What can he do? Jumps right in onto Andy. Unfortunately not able to get the elimination. He will fall. And there we see Plato is going to get one onto Hollow. So the team's continuing to trade back and forth 1 for 1. Death Blossom is now online for Boise State with Coblart off. We'll see if they want to have a grab Death Blossom combo. Cool ABC is going to say, I'm going to drop mine first. He's going to pick up a pair before going down. Boise State right now holding on in what has been a very long extended engagement. And now it looks like the Broncos might be falling back here just for a moment.
So the Broncos are now entering 2-fight territory for this last point, and Kel needs to use this ultimate, his Graviton Surge, in this next fight, or he needs to swap to D.Va. He's creating a huge disadvantage for the team because D.Va provides so much utility while playing into Cool ABC's Reaper, and Reaper has back-to-back gotten multi-kills using his ultimate that can be countered using a D.Va. So Boise State needs to reconvene and change their comp up a bit in order to get this next fight to be in their favor.
Grab did come out. Unfortunately, after all of that, Boise State is going to get 4-man EMP. Guac going to lay down the Shatter. Both teams starting to lose members. Boise State won the early engage. Now with the respawns coming out, can the Broncos hold on for their own reinforcements to get back in? We see a Large Bagel does have the Sound Barrier whenever he wants to use it. There's no ultimate on the side of Utah right now. Do have a couple members close. Dog21 dropping very, very low as Hollow has been eliminated. And Boise State slowly inching towards this capture point with just 14 seconds left. Cool ABC going to be taken down. Sound Barrier going to be used as a little bit of an aggro move by Boise State to try and capture this point. They'll take down Flame Turtle. Dog21 dropping very, very low. Not going to use the Diva Bomb there, and he will be eliminated. Boise State once again by the skin of their teeth should be able to capture this and head on to the third checkpoint.
Alright, so Boise State is moving out into this outdoorsy area. That is going to give the Diva on the enemy side as well as the Sombra a lot more free range, and Boise State needs to accommodate for that. I think it is time to switch up the playstyle a little bit, or we might stagnate before we have the opportunity to hit this last point. We do have 3 ultimates coming online, but Utah State has 5 coming online for this next fight.
Both Coalescence going to be used. Meteor Strike going to be used by Goblin, as well as the Shatter does land onto 2. Sound Barrier going to be used by Hollow, but not in time to save Flame Turtle. Cool ABC is able to pick up Goblin. Diva Bomb gets 1, and Cobblar going to add another one onto a large bagel. Plato goes down as well. For the first time in a while, Boise State faces some resistance. They're going to have to reset.
So BSU supports, unfortunately, are very unlucky when it seems to be getting caught out by these Diva Bombs. I don't think that there is a lot of tracking going into Dog 21 because they've been able to pop off a lot of Diva Bombs and catch BSU off guard. So our Lucio's not ready with Amp and Speed ready to get our team away and out of LOS of the enemy team. And you see Cool ABC pulling out another Death Blossom and taking out 4 BSU members.
Death Blossom combo with what looked like to be a 5-man EMP. Not much Boise State can do. The only survivor member, Goblin, on that Widowmaker in the back line. And Boise State now has to get onto the point. A huge 3-man shatter going to come out from Flame Turtle. Boise State going to lose 2. Goblin is going to get a pick onto Cobblar, but is it going to be enough as the Broncos members are starting to fall? They've got to get onto the point as time is running out. Is contested. Can a large bagel hold on? Unfortunately, no, he cannot. We'll see if anyone from Boise State can get on the point. Asu's going to be able to get in there, and now the Broncos are kind of just running into their death, trying to make magic happen. Guac does get a pin onto Cool ABC. It allows Goblin to get in there and get an elimination onto Hollow. And Boise State might have found a way to keep overtime going. Unfortunately for them, they are going to lose Goblin. Kell is going to use the Graviton, but there's really not much else to combo with it. Andy outside of it going to use the Coalescence to maintain everyone on the Ute side. Diva Bomb is going to come out. Good job, Boise State, line of sighting that one. A large bagel will throw down a 4-man sound barrier. Goblin going to swap back over to the Widowmaker, and Boise State might have found their footing, but he will get sniped out by Cobblar, who's on his own Widowmaker. And Boise State right now trying to keep the payload pushing. Can't do much more as the Utes have been on top of the point this entire time. Coalescence from Asu going to be used, but it's not enough to save Plato and Guac as Hollow's going to drop down the sound barrier. Cobblar has used the infrared sight to give away the position of Boise State. Another huge Death Blossom, and that's going to finish it off. Boise State 2 checkpoints and a couple of meters forward.
So I guess I can safely say this Cool ABC is not only a force to be reckoned with on Genji, but as well as on Reaper. I do not think there was a single fight where he did not either have Death Blossom ready to go or got it mid-fight and used it. So Boise State really needs to be focusing on who is making the plays for this other team and adjusting their playstyle for that. And if that means changing out your tanks, it means change out your tanks. Holding on to an ultimate is not worth an entire fight. Our coach Shifty has said that more than once to us, and it is something that needs to be deeply ingrained within the minds of our players.
Now Boise State, they know what's in front of them. They have to get a hold on to Utah. Of course, an early hold would be awesome, but it's probably going to be an extended hold, and maybe even holding them right in front of the parking spot like we just saw the Utes do. But once again, Cobblar, not many high-impact EMPs this round, but it's always something Boise State's got to have in the back of their mind.
Honestly, the sneaky EMPs on your backline or on one of your tanks that heavily relies on movement can spell doom for an entire comp. And as you can see, Boise State is going with another one of these hybrids where we've got Goblin once again on Widowmaker, but we've got Dog and Coblard over here chilling out on Diva and Sombra once again, that are very easy to dive and take out Widowmaker as well as sneak up on our Widow, which has happened more than once. So will our team be able to adjust after they die after this first fight on payload?
You see Goblin in on the back line, going to try and land some clutch headshots to slow down the Ute push. Right now, just one hit marker to speak of, can't quite get the sight line as the Ute's going to properly disengage, and he's immediately got a Sombra in his face, and Cobblar going to take him down. And now Boise State has to be where they know there's a Sombra on the back line, they just don't know where, as the teams are currently sitting around this truck. Andy immediately going to use the Coalescence as Cool ABC, and Cobblar going to combine for a kill on the Guac. Kell going to go down as well. Goblin swapped over the Torbjorn, but it looks like for Boise State, they're going to have to concede this early push as everyone's gone down.
And we see Goblin is actually once again switching back over to the Widowmaker, deciding to stick with that. I don't know if that was discussed fully as the team, but honestly I feel like they're playing themselves with a disadvantage here and intentionally giving themselves fights that are not fair for the side of BSU by having a Widowmaker who cannot engage on point, whereas everyone on the UPOT side can be on point. BSU will be playing a 5v6 with our Widow being taken out in the wings.
Well, Goblin's going to answer right back. He's going to make it a 6v5. Nice shot on the cool ABC. Cobblar, we'll see if he's able to get another pick, but right now it looks like the Utes content just disengaging for now. No ultimates up for them. Boise State has a trio of ultimates online, including the grab and the shatter. Probably waiting for the Death Blossom, only at 61%. EMP up around 92, 93, so that's going to be online very, very soon. There's the grab to start things off. Coalescence is going to be used by HUE as well. Flame Turtle trying to drop down the shatter, but it's not going to land. We see a sound barrier does come out from Hollow, but right now Boise State doing a great job. There's the 5-man EMP, and immediately Boise State, the fight gets flipped. All 5 members hit by it go down. Goblin in the back line trying to do what he can. He's going to get burned down as well, and Cobblar flips the fight once again for the Utes.
Honestly, that EMP is just such a huge playmaker, and we've seen that Mythmaker here in the chat. Goblin will definitely have to work up some comfort on some other DPS characters, but that time will come on its own. And honestly, Mythmaker, that's so true. For now, he's got to stick with what he's comfortable on, and this just goes to show him that, hey, you know, you've got to broaden your horizons, and that's okay. But he is able to take out Cool ABC early on in this fight, so that could play into the favor of BSU.
Large Bagel dropping the sound barrier, giving Boise State some extra health. They're able to get Flame Turtle and Dog 21 as well. Hollow is able to pick up Guac, so not without some repercussions for Boise State, as it looks like they're going to try and chase down the remaining members of the Utes. They are able to get a pick on to Andy, but with over a minute and a half left, the Utes comfortably have 2 fights left here.
And 2-fight territory when there isn't a whole lot of to move. Honestly, the Utes have a clear opportunity that they can take and sustain on this point. Boise State has both of our tank ults coming up, and we've popped infrareds to try and stop that Sombra from getting advantage on our map right and hopefully take her out early. But other than their ultimate, it doesn't look like Utah will have a huge leading advantage with ults here.
Yeah, Flame Turtle is going to be taken down. The infrared sight was used. Cobblar does have another EMP, so Boise State does have to be extremely careful. Grab and the Coalescence are available. Plato building up that Death Blossom, and now with just under 40 seconds left, the Utes do have to start worrying about potential last fight territory. Now, Boise State did cap both of their points into overtime, and there's the EMP. It's only going to land on to 3, but immediately Guac and Plato are both going to go down. Grab used from Kel, but it's not enough to keep the team alive. He will fall as well. Coalescence used from Asu, trying to stay stained. That's not going to work out either, and once again, the Sombra flips the fight, and that's the first point for the University of Utah.
Boise State was actually very well prepared for that Sombra ultimate. They knew that they did not have their sound barrier ready from a large bagel, which is kind of odd for him because he is a Reddit Lucio and has it all the time. So Asu actually took the initiative and stayed back away from the group, which kind of gave them a slight disadvantage in the initial engage, but the ability to re-engage and sustain was a lot higher with their Mario holding on to that Coalescence.
Plato is going to drop the Death Blossom there. You can see the health bars dropping low for the side of the Utes. Finally, they're able to get their first elimination. Make it 2 now onto Flame Turtle and Cool ABC. So Boise State doing a great job with an early hold. Dog going to get knocked out of the mech. Not able to get it back, but Boise State is going to lose Asu in the process. Nice elimination by Dog 21. Andy will be traded though, and the Broncos not going to have to disengage, but a great early fight.
Yeah, and because they took that early fight, that is giving the opportunity to take more time off the clock here in Utah without the payload moving, and they're getting into a great position to really utilize the fact that they have this Reaper and forcing Utah to play down on the lower level can give an advantage to Plato and our Widowmaker here in this next fight.
We are going to see, looks like a huge sound barrier from a large bagel going to land onto every member of Boise State. Unfortunately, without Plato, Cool ABC making the difference right now, and the Veracruz going to lose their first fight of this second checkpoint. Goblin eliminated as well. Now Boise State probably got to respawn here and get at least one more fight in.
Yeah, we have time for one more fight, and we can see that both Kel and Asu, as well as Guac, we have ultimates coming online, but it looks like Utah has basically everything in their back pocket, and it's just going to be a matter of which one they feel like throwing out first. But they also got to keep in mind that they can't throw them all out at once. Both teams have been guilty of doing this. If Boise State does not stagger their ult right, they won't be able to take this, but if Utah doesn't, they won't either.
Grab is going to come out as well as the EMP. EMP hits 3. The Diva Bomb is going to come out as well as both Coalescence. Hollow now going to drop the sound barrier to keep their low health members of the Utes alive, and that probably is going to turn out to be the difference as a large bagel and Asu both going to fall. Guac had gone down earlier. Plato now just barely respawning, and the Utes going to get that second checkpoint, and Boise State's defense has got to be stout and it's got to be quick.
Oh, turn it up.
Yeah, this is really the time for them to put the pedal to the metal and, you know, think quickly on their feet. Goblin once again has changed up, going from that the Symmetra back over to the Widowmaker. However, we've got Kel switching up over onto Diva, and honestly, his Diva is a beast. So if they can charge in with the large Bagel's help, Walk slams down on an Earth Spatter just in time. Plato can pull off a Death Blossom in the back line. They can turn this fight around.
There's the Earth Shatter going to land onto just Flame Turtle. He does have his own to counter, and it's going to land onto 3 members of Boise State. Death Blossom from Plato came out to try and flip the fight. Cool ABC going to use his as well. Only 1 elimination to show for both Reaper Ultimates, but unfortunately for Boise State, Utah's going to get everything else. Cool ABC is going to get taken down by Goblin, but on the Widowmaker, nowhere near the point, and the Utes going to get into the parking space, and they are going to go on to match point.
Unfortunately, we kind of saw that coming from the beginning. We knew what type of force Utah was going to be coming into this, and they honestly did not disappoint. That was fantastic to watch. Like I said, Cool ABC tends to be a little bit of their playmaker on their DPS side, and their Sombra as well. Their communication was great and fantastic from both teams. They both played that very great, and I'm excited to see the next one.
Well, Boise State now going to have to engineer a reverse sweep. This is the round of 16 of the HUE Fest Invitational. Boise State taking on Utah. The Broncos 2-1 in the group stage, but trying to snap a little bit of a losing streak, just dropping their first game to Miami of Ohio, and now up against it for Utah, up 2 maps to none. And I have to say, I agree with you, Nerdy Bird. I mean, Cool ABC and the Sombra, they've been making all the plays. I mean, you've seen it. Boise State, they have a fight one, 6-man Sombra EMP. Fight immediately flips. So for Boise State, I mean, that really feels like priority 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, figuring out who can play Sombra, because Goblin's gotten some picks, but the Sombra EMPs are way more influential right now than 1 or 2 headshots from a Widowmaker.
And honestly, maybe this will be the learning and turning point for BSU to realize how much, you know, playing Sombra can be viable, and picking up that new hero can really change the dynamic of a team. So even if Boise State doesn't come out on top, they can say, you know what, we knew what we did wrong, and we needed to tweak this one thing, and this is what it is. We'll have to see if that's what happens after this game or not. We still have to play out this map. Either way, this is an exciting match to be able to watch, and we honestly, we're changing things up a little bit with both sides. If you take a look at the comps they currently have picked, actually no, only Utah's changing things up a little bit. Boise State's once again on their comfort picks.
Yeah, Kel has been sort of swapping back and forth between the Diva and the Zarya on the Diva this time. But yeah, you see the Echo and the Ashe now coming out for the side of the Utes, as well as the Ana, something we haven't seen from them so far. So we'll be curious to see how they want to play around it, how Boise State is going to handle the Ashe, because we know Cobbler has been a fantastic Sombra. Right now, Boise State dropping incredibly low from some dynamite. You can see an Ansi land onto a large Bagel. Is he going to be able to survive, as Asu's going to have to shift away? Boise State right now using this Monkey Shield to their maximum advantage. Health bars, you can see a ton of criticals right now for Boise State, but it looks like Asu and a large Bagel going to be able to sustain. Boise State taking this sort of long route of working their way around towards the point. Immediately they're going to be found out by Utah. Cool ABC dropping very, very low. So is Hollow, but Kel and Goblin also extremely low. Kel going to get the first elimination of the match, picking one up onto Hollow, but he's going to get immediately forced out of the mech. A lot of low health bars for the side of Utah. Can Boise State capitalize? Cool ABC going to be the next one to go down as Goblin gets one. Asu forced to use the Coalescence. A large Bagel picks up one as Goblin gets his second. Now both DPS are down. He will fall to Dog 21 as the sleep does land on the Guac, but Boise State already 1 tick in, and now they're going to get an elimination on the Dog, and Boise State should maybe even 3 tick this off one fight.
So, one thing I would like to throw out there is that Guac is what we would consider one of our main kind of shot and direction callers here within this match, and so he is not only having to manage his own abilities and keep track of the other enemy team's abilities, because he is a lead ult tracker, but also make the calls for the team. And you saw him bouncing in and out during that fight and sustaining his health despite getting really low, and had to communicate with his supports who were on a completely different level of the playing field there. That just goes to show how much communication is happening on BSU's side.
Echo gonna copy the Death Blossom there, able to pick up one. Goblin now going to get another one onto Cobbler, but he will be revived. Kel able to take down Cool ABC. Dog going to get in on the back line. Goblin is going to fall. You can see the ultimates available for Utah. Bob is there if they want to make up for Cool ABC, who is now fully respawned. You can see Plato dropping very, very low. Should be able to sustain. Kel going to grab a health pack there. and Boise State right now probably might be best interest here to disengage. You can see Kel trying to fly away. He is at just 27 HP. Infrared sight is going to come out in combination with the Death Blossom. Boise State with a great re-engage to pick up a pair there. We are going to see the Primal Rage plus the Nano come out and the Diva Bomb. Doesn't look like Diva Bomb's going to pick up anything. Flame Turtle trying to swing some people off the map for Boise State. He is dropping incredibly low. He's going to have to go in and reset as Boise State right now sitting on the point. There comes Bob in from Cobblar. Cool ABC on the back line, switching over to the Tracer. He's going to get one on to Goblin. Diva Bomb from Kel will pick up Cobblar, however, and Dog 21 also going to lose his mech in the process, as well as a large bagel dropped a great sound barrier there to allow Boise State to sustain. Anti on to Kel, dropping low. Should be able to survive through this as he's trying to push the Utes back into their spawn. Boise State now fully on the point, at least going to be able to get one tick here, but with the staggered respawns, it looks like the Utes should be able to get back in before Boise State able to pick up a second one. Kel dropping extremely low. Cobblar now going to be dropping low. He'll go back to heal. Cool ABC does have the pulse pop. He's going to drop it, pick one up onto Plato. Boise State now without one DPS. We have Goblin who has swapped over to the Tracer as well. Unfortunately for Boise State, they're going to lose a couple of members. Kel just trying to do what he can to get in on the back line, but unfortunately for Boise State, not going to be able to pick up that second tick, and they're going to be forced to fall back.
So we've got Andy, who's actually swapped over onto this Ana pick and landed a huge nade onto our Diva. Thankfully, Diva was took the majority of the blunt force from that one and deflected it from the remainder of the team. But Andy has managed to already get his nano boost. And I don't know if Boise State's exactly ready for that, because a nano boosted Tracer in your backline on your supports is horrifying. A nano boosted Monkey just jumping in on you, and then after the nano using Primal Rage is horrifying. So I don't know what Boise State's going to do to counter that in this next fight.
Colas is going to come out. They are going to nano Flame Turtle. He does not have the Primal Rage, only at 60%, but it is climbing extremely fast. Boise State looks like they have been able to stall out the nano for now. Goblin dropping very, very low. Is going to be able to heal and pull back up, and everyone's going to reset. Guac, though, going to get a great pick onto Cobblar. Can Boise State follow it up with another one? You can see he's almost halfway done respawning. Sound Barrier going to be used as a great sleep onto Plato. He's going to cancel out the Death Blossom. Boise State now only able to find an elimination onto Cool ABC, but Plato is going to fall in the process. Wild Turtle has popped the Primal Rage. The Pulse Bomb has gone out from Goblin, but unfortunately not going to land onto anyone. A large bagel is going to use the Sound Barrier, hits all 5 surviving members of Boise State. Guac going to use the Primal Rage, trying to swing where he can. Here comes the Diva Bomb in from Dog 21. Boise State's going to lose Asu in the process. Guac was in on the back line, trying to take down Andy. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get much to show for it. Kel now going to lose the mech and his life, and Boise State, unfortunately, not able to get much. They already played going on to Flame Turtle, but an anti on the Guac and Plato means they have to be very careful. Plato is going to pay for it, so is Guac, and Boise State once again going to have to retreat.
Unfortunately, that fight was just dragged out a little bit too long. You could see Guac trying to be proactive and actually shut down that Ana's ability to sustain the team by throwing his bubble in front of her, and that really did cut her off for quite some time. But not communicating to your team that there's an Ana chilling out on the left-hand side so they're not aware can be a huge disadvantage, because they need to know where the sleeps and the antis are going to be coming from.
Goblin is going to get slept. He's going to have to teleport back out. Him and Cool ABC having a little bit of a Tracer battle. Both of them very, very close to the Pulse Bomb. You can see the Coalescence is on the line. A couple of ultimates up above 90% for the Utes as well. So both Pulse Bombs going to be there. They're both going to be used. Goblin's going to pick up one onto Andy. The Nano did come out, though, in time before he went down onto Flame Turtle. Sound Barrier going to be used by Hollow, and now Boise State running out of life. Ace is going to be the first one to fall. Goblin now below everyone, trying to find a good flank right now. Can't find a target, unfortunately, as everyone is above him. Boise State has decided to disengage, and now they have to be careful with the Primal Rage and the Death Blossom up for the side of Utah.
So both teams at this point are pretty equal when it comes to their ult economy. The only issue that I really see is the fact that Ace does not have his Coalescence, whereas they don't have to worry about a Coalescence coming from their own side on Andy, because Andy is going to get his Nano Boost during this next fight no matter what. So Boise State's got to be careful when they engage, and we can see that we're already going to lose 2 players early on because of those ultimates on the side of Utah.
Yeah, off screen, a huge 4-man anti was hit by Andy, and that immediately shut down Boise State's advances. Looks like they're just going to go full reset, and now 30 seconds left. Boise State got one fight left here to see if they can get a second tick.
The important thing for Boise State to remember is, yes, you gotta ult first, but you need to make sure you use your ultimates in a way that makes them as viable as they possibly can be. As you can see, we've got Utah pushing forward, trying to keep Boise State from actually getting onto the point to begin with, but they're going to lose a player in doing so. Now, if our tanks can get on point and get a foothold, that will allow our DPS to get on the back line of the enemy and maybe balance out this last fight a bit more.
Both Primal Rages are going to be dropped. Diva Bomb is going to come out, and despite the sound barrier, is going to pick up elimination onto a large bagel. HUE able to answer back with the Coalesce. Plato is going to drop the Death Blossom. Unfortunately, not able to find any sort of elimination. Boise State, you could see, up around 62%, trying to find that last semblance of a tick. Kel going to use his own Diva Bomb. That's not going to land onto anyone, but Boise State will pick up a kill onto Andy and Cobbler. They have gotten past the second tick, up to nearly 80% here in overtime. Hollow and Dog 21 going to go down, and Boise State might find their foothold here and at least be able to two-cap the side of Utah. A large bagel able to take down Dog 21. Nano is going to land, this time onto Cool ABC, as Cobbler has swapped over. He's going to get one snipe, but Tracer Bomb is going to go out as well. Sound barrier used by Hollow as Cool ABC goes down. Another huge snipe from Cobbler, make it 3 now, and Boise State, unfortunately, is probably not going to be able to full cap this. You can see they're just barely holding on in overtime. 89.5% going to be the Broncos' final mark there, and that swap onto the Widowmaker in such a close corridor paying off huge for Utah.
But see, the thing with swapping off to a Widowmaker in that situation only was the fact that they had a ball rolling and spinning to win it around on point, preventing BSU from actually being able to stabilize their focus onto a stationary target such as Widowmaker, who is so small with such a tiny hitbox. It became almost impossible to realize where she was and when she was going to be attacking you, because you have a giant hamster throwing a ball in your face constantly, and that gave her a perfect opportunity and opening to just sit there and peck off Boise State's team, because the tanks were able to keep the rest of the team distracted.
Boise State has to worry about trying to shut down the Utes. A first point hold would be spectacular, but in the end, they just need to keep them below 89.5%. If they can do that, the Broncos going to send us on to Game 4. If the Utes can get to 90%, the Utes will be victorious, and they will advance to the round of 8 here in the HUE Fest Invitational. Boise State right now looks like a little bit of a change here. Finally going to go over to the Ashe and the Torbjorn, and then, at least for now, a Symmetra hover on the side of Utah.
I have big plans for you.
Utah might be looking to get some sneaky teleportation quickly onto point. The only thing that really is a turnoff for wanting to do that teleport combo is if you have the enemy team playing an Ana or a Mei, which Boise State has not pulled out once within this tournament, so it's a pretty safe choice to try to go with the TP method, I will not lie.
Looks like for now he is going to hang on to the Symmetra, so it is the TP method that the Utes are at least holding on to for now. Immediately, Plato's going to get a huge snipe on to Andy, as the rest of the Utes are now going to try and jump onto the point. Flame Turtle is going to go down as well. Cool ABC will join, and Boise State with an excellent hold there. Teleport method not going to pay off, but Cobbler will be able to get a kill onto Plato, but the rest comes out.
We just gotta hope that this one-on-one doesn't end up with the demise of our own little Torbjorn over here, and thank goodness it did not. Goblin was able to sustain and outclass that Lucio, so to speak. Don't get in my Torbjorn's face. He'll shut you down in a 1v1 sometimes. But Boise State still has to hang on for a little over 3 minutes, which can amount to be 3 to 4 fights. So with no clear advantage on either side, this could go any way.
You have a couple of swaps, same result though. Plato once again going to get a great shot, this time on to Cobbler, who had gone over to his own Ashe, is going to be revived though, so everything going to be even aside. Now we do see Flame Turtle taking a bit low, but he is going to be able to be healed back up there, able to take down Goblet's turret. Boise State right now, you can see, going to have the ult advantage, as there were some DPS swaps from the side of Utah, where Cobbler immediately already up to 50% on the Bob, as Cool ABC going to take down Guac. Revive is going to come out, but unfortunately a large bagel and HUE are both going to go down, so no supports for the side of Boise State, as Kel is dropping extremely low, finally going to be forced out of the mech. We can see Cobbler is also very low, but he should be able to hold on. Bob is available for Plato. He's going to get one on to Cobbler. He's going to call Bob in to try and even things out and buy some time for Boise State. Unfortunately, Guac and Kel both going to go down. Plato all alone on the point. It looks like a large bagel has snuck back on. Unfortunately for Boise State, Bob's going to leave. He was the only man contesting the point, and now the Broncos going to have 5 minutes to try and hold to that second point.
That's about 4.5 fights, 5 fights for BSU to sustain. However, BSU does have almost all of their ultimates other than Bob, but we've seen Bob come up from Plato very quickly. I do not doubt that he will have it before this next fight is actually completely engaged.
See, it looks like on the side of Utah, the Nano and the Valkyrie are available, as well as the Pulse Bomb and both Diva Bombs. So Boise State gonna have to be careful, but that's a great way to start it off with a pick onto Flame Turtle. Dog21 right now has the Orbit Discord. See if Boise State can burst him down at all. Coblard also dropping very, very low. Unfortunately, Boise State not able to pick up any elimination there. We see the Broncos also sitting on their own trio, or should I say quad of ultimates, and Guac and Plato both very, very close. So all teams very, very close to the queue. We'll see how many get thrown out here in this next fight.
During that last fight, it was really important for Boise State to push back the enemy a little bit further because they allowed for the engage to happen a little bit too quickly because Ball does have so much speed when he respawns. However, Boise State was able to split up the enemy team using that Torbjorn ult as well as our Raging Monkey here and might be able to fully sustain without letting Utah get 2 and then some ticks on this point.
Yeah, Utah going to throw every ult at Boise State, and they're going to be able to pick up 2 ticks to show for it. Boise State holding on to Bob and the Transcendence as Utah falls off. And it looks like, no, they did not get that second tick. They are extremely close. Boise State going to take that one now, but there's still 3.5 minutes left.
So we can see over here that Utah is now swapping back over to what we can honestly say is probably their comfort comp. Is Boise State going to do that little tab click and see that they have changed things up, and are they going to be ready to deal with this Sombra, who's now going to start harassing their Torbjorn, because Goblin is a force to be reckoned with on the side of Boise State, and Utah is obviously recognizing that they need to take him out, and they are making adjustments for it, whereas Boise State's not so much doing that in regards to Cool ABC and Kobler.
Right now, Large Bagel just trying to deal with the Flame Turtle in his face. He is going to get an elimination on the Cool ABC. You can see Goblin sort of over there in the backline. As right now, it looks like Utah is prioritizing trying to get as many eliminations as possible. They're going to get another one onto a Large Bagel. Bob is going to join the fight as Flame Turtle and Hollow both going to go down. Dog21 going to fall as well. And this looks like Boise State might be victorious here, but at what cost, using a couple of ultimates.
Yeah, but they did get a very large stagger on that Moira here at the very end of that fight. You could hear that they also found where Sombra's at, but Sombra's getting some serious ultimate charge off of Boise State, so they really got to work on not feeding her ult and just taking her out very quickly. And that is something that kind of comes more with the Diva play in the future, and it's something that our team will get better at as this meta progresses. And this next fight, it looks like, just solely based off numbers, Boise State does have a slight advantage coming in with their ultimates. However, they do have to be wary that Colbert already has that EMP and they cannot be caught off guard by it.
95%, so just a few shots away. Should be able to get it. Now, the good news for Boise State, you can see they are sort of pre-spread out, so they should be able to sustain an EMP only onto a couple of members. Coalescence going to be used, answered by the Valkyrie there. Molten Core also going to come out from Goblin right now. EMP being held onto by Coblard. Transcendence is available for a Large Bagel. We'll see if he can survive being EMP'd. There's the EMP, going to land onto 3. Immediately, Transcendence is going to come out as well as the Primal Rage. Boise State scouting that one out perfectly. Going to pick up a pair of eliminations. Can they get anything else? Flame Turtle goes down. Cool ABC forced to retreat, and a great job by a Large Bagel to read that one, wait for the EMP, and then immediately Transcendence.
That honestly was a gorgeous play coming in from both of our supports. The sustain that they both provided during that fight was quintessential to their survival. Again, I don't know about that Diva Bomb. I felt like it was a little overkill, but at the end of the day, you can charge that ult pretty quick. Hopefully your Mercy will give you a little bit of a damage boost. And we've also got Plato coming in with an ultimate this next fight. However, because we used our Diva Bomb a little unnecessarily, Boise State only has 1 ult this fight, whereas Utah's got 2, almost 3.
Have the Death Blossom online, only 60 seconds left. Utah trying to get that second ticking up above 90%, and the Death Blossom kicked things off with a pair of eliminations. Bob has been called in to join the fight. Keller's going to get kicked out of the mech. We'll see if Boise State, they should be able to respawn in time here, as now Bob is going to be eliminated. Coalescence is going to be used by Andy over Discord on Dog21, who does have the Diva Bomb. And Cobbler gonna fill up the kill feed. Bang, bang, bang. Boise State gets team killed, and just like that, Utah flips it around, and the Utes gonna be victorious here. They are heading on to the next round of the HUE Fest Invitational.
I'm not gonna lie, Boise State kind of had the short end of the stick handed to them in this case, knowing that going into the Sweet 16 spot, we were immediately going to have to go up against our longtime rivals. So that was a little sad for us, but honestly, great job, Utah. I'm excited for you guys and looking forward to seeing how well they performed throughout the rest of this performance. And in all honesty, I truly hope Utah took the victory, because then at least we can say we lost to the best team.
Yeah, Boise State, as we saw in our rewind, they're going to drop in the round of 16 in both Overwatch and League of Legends. So getting out of the group stage, nothing to be sad about for Boise State. You just know where you want to improve and what the benchmark is for next year. I believe the first time Boise State for both teams, Overwatch and League of Legends, has been in the HUE Fest Invitational. But a great job by Boise State. 2 victories to show for it, Messiah and Texas. A pair of losses as well to Miami of Ohio in the group stage. And then as we just saw, Utah there in the round of 16. And even though it was a 3-0 for Utah, that was a very, very close 3-0. Boise State putting a lot of pressure on the Utes. As you mentioned, a longtime rival team. Boise State still looking for their first win for, but got to hand it to Boise State. They definitely played them about as close as a 3-0 series can be.
Honestly, having watched the last 2 years of gameplay and being on the team the last 2 years to this year, Boise State's ability to handle Utah was above and beyond where they have been. Their skill level is, there was a skill floor and a skill ceiling for our team last year, and I feel like they've been elevated, like they're all the way up at the top of the Empire State Building now, as opposed to being on the ground floor. So our team, though they have some communication things to work out and some ultimate and utility usage, overall, Boise State's team is looking very clean this year, and it's just a few tweaks here and there, and they'll be performing great. And hopefully they'll have an opportunity to take back the title of victory from Utah later on this year, even if it's in a different tournament or a different game altogether.
Well, as we wrap things up from our HUE Fest Invitational Rewind to taking a look at the Overwatch team taking a loss in the round of 16. Of course, going to have the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game, which I guess we could just say could be player of the 4 matches we saw. And Nerdy, do you have any sort of nomination, if you will, for who that's going to be?
So I am going to nominate both Kel and Goblin. Actually, I take that back. I am going to nominate both our DPS for once. I normally am biased and will nominate tanks and supports, but both DPS really pulled it out this time. Granted, they weren't playing to the best of their abilities nor their best strengths because they weren't on what we would consider their true mains and in true main comps for them, but they performed well, and I know that this is kind of like their first real weekend of participating in a tournament. It's very exhausting, so my nomination goes out to both of them. They're both freshmen on our team, and they deserve it. They've put a lot of hard work into this, and it's a little thank you for, all of the struggles that they've had to go through over the past week in preparation for this.
Yeah, I was going to say mine would have to be as the player of the night would be Plato. I thought he was spectacular on the Ash. Goblin did have a couple of picks as well, though I feel like at times the Widowmaker felt like, as you mentioned, kind of distant, not in a fight, and allowed for some 5v6s to break out. So yeah, mine would definitely have to go towards Plato, as we do get our Idaho Central Credit Union player of the night, usually the player of the game, but we got to see 4 Overwatch matches tonight, and it is going to be Plato. Yeah, there we go. We were both right. You said both DPS. I highlighted Plato, and you can see in some of these replays, he made some spectacular plays, especially on the Ash and some on the Reaper as well.
Those dynamites, man, they're just deadly. The amount of times that Plato went from 0 to 100 on his ultimate before a fight even started was ridiculous. It just goes to show his skill and prowess on this hero, and I'm excited to see what else he can do on other heroes later this season as he gets more comfortable within both the BSU comp and the comp that is currently present here in Overwatch meta.
But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I think Goblin made some great plays, and then, of course, you can't forget Asu, Kel, Guak, and the last member of Boise State, a large big. We can't forget any of them. They made a ton of great plays as well. But got to have one player of the night, and as you said, it was the DPS players that at times kind of carried Boise State through some victories. So it is going to be Plato, your Idaho Central Credit Union player of the night. Big shout out to him, Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like they're helping their members achieve financial success. So a big shout out to Plato, as you mentioned, is a freshman, might be his first Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. So it's always nice to get one of those under your belt, and I'm sure the way he played tonight, many more of those to come.
Oh, for sure. This whole team, they're all all-stars, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with the remainder of the season and how much time we're going to be able to give them to really focus on their skills and get better as not just the team, but as individuals and students.
Yes, we see a ton of great plays there. Plato with a huge Death Blossom. The map against Texas was just really back and forth. Miami of Ohio as well, and then Utah. Unfortunately, both those last two were Bronco losses, but you have to love how Boise State performed. A loss in the round of 16, surviving group stage, going 2-1 in that, and then a very, very hard-fought battle against Utah. You have to be, I don't want to say looking forward to next year's HUE Fest, but you have to love how Boise State performed here tonight.
Yeah, and after all, it's only going to get better from here for all the teams across the board. So whether or not you were here to root on Boise State or cheer on a different school that we were playing against this evening, all of these schools, we've only had a limited amount of time to practice together and to scrim other schools. So just know everybody's going to be improving, and this is kind of the benchmark we can set across the board for the skill level that we're going to see this season, and it's already insanely high. So it's only going to get better from here.
Well, if you're interested in more Overwatch, make sure you come back on Friday. Next time when Boise State's going to have a stream, we'll have some more Overwatch action. And then on Saturday, I know an event you were hyped for, Nerdy Bird, going to be the Spokane Hoop Fest NBA 2K event coming up. Chizu going to be on that call. So if you got a lot to look forward to, we got Overwatch, we got NBA 2K, and then, of course, as we get into the season, Rocket League. We saw some Valorant earlier this week. I'm sure that'll be back. Overwatch and, of course, League of Legends always going to be on the stream. Just drop a follow. You'll know when everything's coming up. So, Nerdy, thank you for coming on. Your first appearance. I'm sure it won't be the last time we see of you. And we've got a special treat tonight. Usually we end with the top 5 plays, which we'll still have those, but then we'll have a post-game press conference with the NACE Director of the Year, Dr. Chris Haskell, letting us know his thoughts on how the HUE Fest Invitational went for Overwatch. So, top 5 plays, but don't go anywhere. We've got a post-game presser with Doc Haskell coming up after the top 5. We'll see if he can survive beating EMP. There's the EMP, going to land onto 3. Immediately, Transcendence is going to come out as well as the Primal Rage. Boise State scouting that one out perfectly. Going to pick up a pair of eliminations. Can they get anything else? Flame Turtle goes down. Cool AVC forced to retreat, and a great job by a Large Bagel to read that one, wait for the EMP, and then immediately Transcendence.
Likely to win, so in this next fight it's really going to be on Boise State to hit that Q button in the right place at the right time. And you can see that we already have a Valkyrie coming out, so Boise State can take this opportunity to be aggressive, and Goblin pops out his ultimate, taking out the Diva out of mech and taking out the Sombra shortly there afterwards. So up 2, Boise State has a great opportunity to maintain this point.
Boise State capitalized. You see this and that. Still getting empowered by the Mercy. Another kill onto Scarlet. Plato just running shop all over Texas right now. Make that 3. Guac's going to punch down Young to make it 4. Plato pick up his 4th kill of that engage. And Boise State off to an excellent start as they force Amber out of the mech. And the Broncos got to be loving how that works. But I'm still have time to relay. X22 going to win this battle between the Ashes. Revive this time going to come out from Asu as Goblin's not going to pick the first one on the Conartry. He'll add a second one to his tally on the death plate. Hexium going to go down as well as Super H-Man to Plato. He'll pick up a 3rd on X22 and let's make it a team kill. Kel gets Real Joe and Boise State off to a dominating start. Asu did
Game-changing ultimate that we could have had online for our team.
Amber going to throw in the deep bump, not going to land on anyone. Scarlet does go down, and Plato, he's in on the back line, and Texas has no idea. Death Blossom picks up 3. Boise State going to win this one. It's just a matter of taking down Amber out of the mech. Scarlet going to try and do what she can, but I don't think she's going to. State Game Pants Esports Arena. As you can see, we got a special guest here tonight, reigning NACE Director of the Year, Dr. Chris Haskell, joining us for his final thoughts on the HUE Fest Invitational. Boise State bowing out in the round of 16 with a tough loss to Utah. Dr. Haskell going to join us right now, and let's start with this first appearance in HUE Fest. Your takeaways.
You know what? It's the first time we've gotten to do it. We've been close a couple of times. You would have to travel to it until this year, where we could do it from home. Loved it. It was good to compete with the teams that we think we should be competing with. It was nice.
Yeah, and then for the Overwatch team, this seems like a great improvement from last semester. What have you kind of seen in this team going forward in the fall semester from these first couple matches?
So this is our first real recruiting season where we've been working on some folks for a couple of years, getting folks from as juniors, seniors in high schools, and getting them prepared to come here. We've got Kellen McGurkin, who's an amazing off-tank. He just does so well with Guac, and they play so well together. And obviously, the DPS just juggernaut. You haven't even seen them all yet. We have a couple of others that didn't play in these games because of the substitution rules. If you subbed anybody out, they couldn't come back in at all. But obviously, you saw Joey on his Goblin account, and of course Plato. Brian's amazing. Eagle High School, great player.
Always great to have some local talent. Now, speaking of the DPS, now it wasn't all roses for Boise State. There were a couple of Sombra plays, especially in the against Miami of Ohio. Talk a little bit about handling Sombra, what's next for Boise State, because it really felt like those EMP sort of flip fights you thought the Broncos had won.
Yeah, we lost sight of the EMP when it was out there, and sometimes that happens where we just don't do the ult tracking that we should, especially with the Sombra. That is not a problem. The Sombra is a 5v6 if you really focus targets early in the fight, and we just waited too long to get an advantage, and then that's when Sombra can do her worst.
And then let's wrap things up with the final event of the night. Boise State taking on Utah. We've talked about it, long rivals. The Utes have been victorious every time, but this was a tough-fought match, even for a 3-0. Like I said, one of the closest 3-0s you can have. So what did you take away from that for Boise State going forward about how well they played a great Utah team?
You know what? Those kids live in our neighborhood, right? Utah is the team that we want to be able to play against, and we proved in this match that we can play with them. I mean, you never want to walk away with something like a loss and go, well, you know, it's a moral victory. It wasn't a moral victory. We won nearly half the fights. They won the last fight in a few of those maps, but we took fights out of them all night long, and we also, even took sides, which was really, really cool. Those are the ones that we should be able to win, and we'll improve, and we'll show them something next time.
Like we said, a top 16 performance for the Boise State Overwatch team. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. As you mentioned, Sombra, a little bit to work on there, and then Utah, a great match for the Broncos. But that's going to wrap things up for our HUE Fest Rewind. As I mentioned, come back on Friday for some more Overwatch. Check out the ever-improving team. But a thank you to the production, to the viewers, to Doc, and, of course, to Dirty Bird for everything. And you guys have a great night.